Last week featured a double dose of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate action as Regions 5 and 6, along with Regions 3 and 4, fought to the finish. In Regions 5 and 6, we saw an assortment of fighters take the stage as Dialga punched his ticket to Grand Finals. 7 Justin was able to outlast both the Spider 2-1-3 and 9 to emerge from Losers Finals. And looking to shake things up, 7 Justin made the switch to Chrom in Grand Finals, but in the end, the story stayed the same as Dialga and Bayonetta put on a dominating performance that placed the Umbra Witch on top of the podium. Switching over to Regions 3 and 4, Narasatio and their Isabelle had a rude welcoming for any of their visitors, popping things off with a nasty Lloyd Rocket to Fishing Rod combo. We saw Leaf and Afro Ninja give us one of the best sets of the day as they traded wins, leading up to an exciting Game 3 showdown. But in the end, it was the royal backside of Peach that closed things out and propelled Leaf to Grand Finals. On the verge of a bracket reset in Grand Finals, Narasatio is able to come through in the clutch and seal the victory, and the looks on both Coney and Vicky said it all afterwards. The fun continues today as we bring you the finals for Regions 1 and 2 in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open May 2020. Up next. Well, happy Sunday and happy Father's Day. With that, we welcome you in to the finals for Regions 1 and 2 in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open May 2020. I'm your host, Jordan Kent, and joining me, we have two of the finest analysts that you will see for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Let's start with our first one. She, quote, says her Kirby is cheese. We welcome here Vicky Kitty. Vicky, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm really excited to see who our last finalist is going to be for this region.
And then finally, we have a man that's cooler than an untouched controller. EE, you looking forward to the action today?
Always, man. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad we're able to finish the May off with style. Really excited for these fighters we have.
Well, let's take a look at how these fighters got here. We have the top 4 finalists out of nearly 2,000 players in the West region, Regions 1 and 2. And you look at the bracket, we have Tipster, Nestboy12, Mark SD King, and Kira Flax. And Vicky, you look at Tipster, and what did you notice about them in their journey to this Final Four?
Well, compared to all the players that we're going to see displayed in broadcast today, we actually had Tipster being the only player go 2-0 throughout all their matches.
And EE, Nestboy12 having to take down some championship caliber players on their way here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the fact that Nestboy had to go through Sweet Tea, who actually won a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Tournament in 2019, that really stood out to me because I know Sweet Tea. He's my boy. He's very talented. So for Nestboy to go over him, that tells me right there he should be considered one of the favorites for this event.
Don't forget, what's at stake is a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2, Splatoon 2, and ARMS as well for a victor, as well as bragging rights. The rules real quickly: 4 players, double elimination bracket as you see here. Best of 3 games wins the match. No items, smash meter, and random stage selection of 8 curated stages. 3 stock, 7 minutes. Shall we get to 7 minutes in a match? And Vicky, it's been really interesting. Over the last couple of weeks, we highlighted counter picks and fighter selection, fighter changes. But today, all 4 of our players really stick with their main through thick and thin. They're with them till they're old and wrinkly and loving each other through those long days. What can you say about fighter specialization?
Well, we've been seeing thus far, at least for this bracket, what stands out for these players is that these are character specialists. We've been seeing these players stick with the one character throughout the entire bracket thus far, and we're already going into the first match. I mean, Nestboy, no surprise here, sticking to the Nest that he's been repping throughout the entire bracket, and then Tipster, on the other hand, repping the Mega Man. And this is one of those matchups where it's going to be a little tricky. You know, you have Mega Man that relies mostly on projectiles, and starting off on a map like Lilat, you're going to have that gravitational pull from Nestboy to be able to counteract against Tipster, but also keep him up in the air against these platforms.
Very well said. And EE, we know that Ness is a character that really wants to get you in the air, all sorts of aerial mobility and those disjointed hitboxes, especially on those aerials that they throw out.
Oh, absolutely. I think one thing about Ness too that's underrated is the fact like he can really get in there and rush you down. Like I've been in plenty of situations where I've seen Ness just explode out into an explosive lead, and it's so hard to bring it back. I mean, you're kind of seeing that put on display right now. Nestboy up about 40% and not looking to slow down, but Tipster starting to pick up some momentum. Just as I compliment Nestboy, it's like they love proving me wrong right from the start, Jordan.
Tipster and Nestboy pretty even on this first stock here. And Vicky, a lot of people will look at Mega Man and say that's a zoning character, but you got to find the right zone and somewhat of that mid-zoning character as we see that up air with Airman and that air shooter carrying Nestboy to the top in an early one-stock advantage for Tipster, Vicky.
Yeah, definitely have to be careful jumping out of that up air because, you know, if you find yourself jumping, you can actually see yourself getting set a lot higher towards the blast zone. And something as Mega Man, you have to be wary, just not only because of the side magnet being starting out in frame 7, but the fact that you do have a back air to help you out of shield as Mega Man. Believe that back air is frame 4, so that I could at least contest the frame 7 side magnet that could come out to contest your projectiles.
Yeah, and Mega Man has such a great tool in that leaf shield in that disadvantage state. We're going to see that come out quite a bit when Mega Man's trying to land because a bigger, heavier character, surprisingly, Mega Man can be some combo food sometimes.
Yeah, you know, but I do think, you know, you mentioned his weight right there. That sometimes can be his saving grace because he is deceptively heavy. But even the heaviest of characters will fall prey to a well-placed Nest back air, which has just got an incredible amount of knockback behind it.
Tipster with a 62% vitality advantage in this second stock at this point, and right now neither fighter really dominating things. As you said, Vicky, it's about Tipster using that Mega Man to sort of keep Ness away from being able to rush down Mega Man and get in their face.
Yeah, and you see Tipster being able to maneuver himself around these platforms on purpose, being able to use the momentum from using these B-reverses as well as his leaf shield to act as like a second shield for him, as it says in the name, but he just have to land against Nestboy, which Ness does have that rather large up air to try to contest you from getting back, and as kind of like an anti-air too, but with a fourth match, actually calling out the jump from Tipster right there.
And you see Nestboy using that forward smash with the bat, and Nestboy turning the tables on Tipster at this point, taking full momentum of this match. And you pointed it out, Ness has got some tools to be a rushdown character to quickly change all the momentum.
No doubt about it. Swung it back in his favor, closed out the stock nicely with the back air at that. So this is really where Nestboy has an opportunity to shine through. It's like he kind of got off to that good rhythm at the beginning, but Tipster, credit to him, was able to weather that storm. Now is an opportunity where you want to get it. You want to tack on at least 50, 60% and really solidify this lead and not let it get away from you.
So far, Tipster doing a fine job of trying to pull the comeback on this third and final stock. Nestboy looking to get a little bit of an advantage to really race out to a lead in this last stock. And Vicky, what tools does Nestboy have as we get set for this final stock? Nicely done with the back air from Mega Man. What tools does Nestboy have to have the chance to rush down against Tipster in this zoning?
Well, you saw a few times right there, actually, when he had the stock lead, that he was trying to fish for a grab, because at early percents, Ness could actually go for the grab into the double forward air, and if you continuously hold in, you are going to get caught with the string of those forward airs, and that racks up a lot of percent, as Ness is hit pretty hard if you're not very careful, especially those PK fires. But right now, we basically have an even out stock, where Tipster's been playing a lot more patiently, as he's forced to at the same time. As you already mentioned, Jordan, Mega Man being one of those projectile-based characters, he constantly wants to keep you out of his personal space.
Mega Man missing with the forward air, and then Ness able to get the grab into the up throw. And this is what we're seeing here, Tipster has to be very efficient, and it seems like whenever Tipster makes a mistake, Nestboy is there to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I feel like Tipster's like caught between like, okay, I want to just try and approach and kind of close the gap, and then sometimes I want to hang back and, you know, understand I have plenty of time on the clock. I don't need to rush anything. And those times where he gets a little antsy, it can cause him to get that damage up there. But he is in prime position to maybe snatch this one back again, much like we saw in that first stock, and delivers it with the back air, cleanly delivered. I wish I could get a shape up that clean, Jordan. It's hard right now. It's hard, brother.
You look pretty clean to me right there, But Vicky, what we saw in the final 15 seconds of that game, we saw Nestboy really misplay that crash bomber that got attached to them, and that sent them in that disadvantage state. And then all of a sudden, we saw Tipster able to close things out with a combination of edge guarding and ledge trapping to take this first game.
Yeah, you saw the side magnet come out, so he wanted to actually absorb it so that way he could heal for a little bit of percent right there, but unfortunately he had mistimed it. So Tipster, taking full advantage of that, utilized Mega Man's back air that not only comes out so quickly, but he also waited for the jump in. He saw that Nestboy didn't have a jump in that situation, so there was only one way you have to go. It's either you air dodge towards ledge, or you're just going to DI into the stage, and Tipster took full advantage of that situation.
Yeah, and when you see someone like Mega Man, a fighter like that, they have so many tools to really control the stage. And if you're Ness and you get off stage and you have somewhat of a predictable recovery, it's really hard to get back in control.
It is. I think one thing that Ness actually online kind of hangs his hat on is the fact that sometimes you don't necessarily want to commit when it comes to trying to edge guard him as hard. just knowing that one mistake, one flub could result in you losing your own stock. So I think sometimes people second guess that, and maybe that's what causes Ness to, perform even greater online. But at the same time, I think Tipster's just being real cautious and picking his spots where he needs to.
Early on, both fighters rather even on this first stock. And Vicky, it seems like the key for Nessboy is how do you get through this flurry of projectiles and options that Tipster has to break up the neutral so that you can get up close and rack up some of those combos that Ness is so capable of doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little unfortunate that we had to go to Lilat again for Nessboy because, the chances of that happening, I mean, we have the stage set list and it's all set to random. With the plethora of stages to choose from, now going to Lilat twice, it's like now Tipster still can take advantage of these platforms. And you can see that Tipster has been able to call out the jump-ins from Nessboy because he does want to jump on these platforms. And, using the sag magnet hit right there to actually prop up Tipster and set him off stage. And this is actually one of the first times that you see Nessboy with the stage advantage, but now Tipster reversing the situation, using that fair to set him off stage.
Yeah, and EE, that PK Fire sets up so many things for Nessboy, but we haven't seen that connect too many times because that range just can't compete with the range that Tipster and Mega Man has.
Absolutely. It's one thing, like, it kind of sucks too because it's one of Ness's best options, his best tools, and some characters it feels like they can almost like invalidate it, make it kind of useless. So you don't want to throw it out there too often because then you start to get predictable, especially at percentage like this. Look at him at 158, this stock's on borrowed time, and Mega Man, you think to yourself, well, he's pretty high up there too, but he's got that weight behind him.
Yeah, and Vicky, you see those pellets coming out from Mega Man. It's like when I feed my little man some goldfish. It just keeps them busy, keeps them occupied at this point, and that's enough to really throw off the rhythm and just approaching tools of Nessboy. But yet another forward smash that has been so effective for Nessboy in this first game.
Hey, Batter. I mean, he called out the jump right there, and Nessboy being able to try to even up the stocks at least, but taking a lot of percent, and with the parry, he wasn't able to really get much off of it, at least from Tipster's point of view, but being able to utilize that leaf shield we've seen a few times where anytime Nessboy even wants to try to use these platforms to his own advantage to try to approach Tipster, these leaf shields have been there to kind of cut him short, and something that we actually have only seen once from Nessboy, getting the jab block into the PK Fire, side magnet. Okay, Nessboy putting on quite a little bit of a show here, telling us he's not out of the game yet, despite Tipster having this game lead over him.
Well done with the reads off the ledge and the edge trap, EE.
That's easily the best interception I've seen in a while. Like, he easily called that out predictably. He's like, okay, I know how your recovery works, so why not put something there that's going to just disrupt it? That was beautiful.
But this is a similar situation to last game. Nessboy with the one stock advantage, but Tipster being very efficient with that third stock not to take any damage so that things would be even going into that final stock. But this time, Nessboy ain't messing around, racking up 50%. Huge advantage here, Vicky, and this is where you want to be if you're Nessboy, giving yourself the upper hand as we get set to close out this second game.
Yeah, unfortunately, jumping right into that blaster right there. And the follow-ups now coming from Tipster. Nessboy has been putting on quite a flashy show this game, too. Kind of displaying, he's got these reverse side magnets to at least get the single hit into these fair follow-ups. But something I was noting earlier is that Nessboy had one time, he was utilizing the yo-yo's constant hitbox by the legend on a stage like Lilat that's actually very useful, especially against Mega Man's recovery, where sometimes he could find himself susceptible from getting past the ledge a little bit. But, Tipster hasn't been put in that disadvantage state just yet.
You see the grab into the throw. Nessboy still with a slight advantage in the third and final stock, but it's been back and forth on this final stock here at EE. And this is where Tipster won the last game, getting Nessboy off the map. And once again, similar situation.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, like, could we see a case of deja vu in how this actually ends? Maybe this time, however, on the left side could result in the victory for Tipster. He's got to play this one pretty close to the chest. Obviously, he's done an excellent job of making up the percentage deficit. And if you're Nessboy, you got to start thinking, like, okay, am I really going to allow this one to slip away again? It's one of those things that starts to get in your head, and it can make you a little nervous down the stretch.
Tipster trying to use some of those metal blades to create follow-up opportunities, connects with the smash that sends Nessboy off the map. Nessboy at 126, and Vicky, this is where you've got to be so careful if you're Nessboy.
Yeah, you see Nessboy is also just utilizing his own projectiles, the PK Fire, not trying to overextend, and saw the perfect opportunity, but the great DI coming in from Tipster. It isn't going to save him, though, because Nessboy follows up with a crisp up air, and Nessboy now has evened out the games with a 1-1 a set piece.
You have to love how Nestboy did such a fine job being patient, waiting for that leaf shield to be gobbled up by the shield, and then getting the chance to lead into that up smash followed by the up air to close things out.
Yeah, I think Tipster was thinking the leaf shield was a little safer than it actually was in that situation. He kind of called a break, not dying immediately to the up smash, but as Vicky said, a well placed up air to finish off that stock was all he needed. Just keeping the pressure on was just huge for Nestboy to force this game through.
And you mentioned that pressure, but Vicky, it seemed like Nestboy was a little bit more judicious about when they would approach Tipster. They weren't just necessarily going in, they were trying to find those openings between the Metal Blades, between the Crash Bombs, between the Leaf Shield, and Nestboy able to get in close and create those opportunities to be a little bit more aggressive that last game.
Yeah, I feel like Nestboy right there was also able to kind of get into the mind of Tipster just because of the way he's been able to use these follow-ups, as you see right here already with a beautiful display to the start of this last matchup between these two. Now Tipster utilizing the fairs to try to contest Nestboy, but despite that, Nestboy really has the percent lead.
Early on, both fighters pretty square as we get set for this first stock, and as we mentioned, that forward air coming out from Megman. Oh, but EE, the PK Thunder, connecting when it matters the most.
You know, you always think you have enough time to get in there and hit Nest, punish him, whether he's on stage or off stage, and it's so deceiving. And what a start for Nest, but he has everything going his way. Tremendous lead. Oh, and by the way, we're not on Lilat, okay? So he's getting a little bit of upper pressure here on what he can do on some other stages. He's taking full advantage back to back.
No, again?
Nuts right now.
A couple of PK Thunders have given Nestboy a huge advantage early on, and Vicky, that's really the first early KO we've seen in these last two games. Both fighters have had to play a very patient game.
Yeah, honestly, the follow from what EE said, it's a little deceiving when you feel like you could punish, Nestboy in the startup of that PK Thunder, but the moment that PK Thunder connects with Nest himself, that's a free wood startup, and it's gonna be extremely tricky to try to contest that at that point. You just have to go for the respect, but Tipster now down an entire stock and already nearly at the end of his second stock. He has a bit of a trek to go, Jordan.
It is all Nestboy in this third and deciding game to see who advances in the winner's bracket. It's Nestboy who finally loses their first stock, 2-1 advantage over Tipster. And at this point, EE, this is when you can't really take your foot off the gas if you're Nestboy.
No, not at all. I mean, Nestboy obviously, a tremendous advantage right now, but you want to keep that because to Tipster's credit, he has shown in that past match, in that opener, that he can mount the comeback when given the opportunity. However, no opportunities presenting themselves now, and that's going to wrap things up with the JB3. Very dominant performance for Nestboy in that third one.
Nestboy 12 moving along, and Vicky, this is where a map and a stage can make a huge difference because we saw that changeup of the PK Thunders being able to utilize those with just a little bit more real estate in that game, and we saw Nestboy 12 just take off with that game because of just a difference in the architecture.
Yeah, I felt like he was also just feeling himself. He felt very confident already with the start of the game. He opened up with an explosive combo, and not just that, he was like, all right, finally a map that isn't Lilat right here. And he didn't feel like he had to overcommit at the same time, because when it comes to Ness's recovery, especially by the lip of Lilat, you could find yourself getting susceptible to actually getting clipped by the ledge and actually not being able to get onto the ledge yourself and grab onto it. And you could find yourself SDing actually.
Let's take a look at the updated bracket after we get done with our first match here in the finals for regions 1 and 2. Nestboy 12 moving along to winners final after taking care of business against Tipster. Up next will be the winner of Mark SD King or Kiraflax. And looking at a couple of these players here, what's interesting is when you look at Kiraflax, as we mentioned, defeating Numbreon, a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Open 2019 winner. And Vicky, once again, we talk about the prestige of these players coming in, and when you're defeating someone that was a former champion, you know you can roll in. Kiraflax being one of those Rob specialists.
Yeah, I mean, Kiraflax, he is no stranger to the competitive scene as well. Kiraflax has a dark pit in the pocket, and despite him actually using Lucina at one point in the game, he's just stuck with Rob throughout this entire bracket. And I definitely have my eyes set on Mark SD King as well, because this man is a Wi-Fi warrior. This is his grounds that we are playing on right here, and we're going to be potentially seeing a Rob Ditto.
And you mentioned that Ditto match, and EE, what comes into play when you are playing a Ditto match? Because both players know the other player's fighter like
Right.
the back of their hand. What do you have to keep in mind in these situations?
Honestly, I think the thing that propels you in a Ditto match is who just has the better neutral. You know what I mean? Who's just in those situations to capitalize more often than not. And the fact that now I've seen Kira play firsthand, so I can speak on this a little bit more. Like his combo game is pristine. He's very, very good at executing. So I would imagine he's gonna know all the little ins and outs of when to take advantage of his own character. But Mark, SD King, you didn't get here for no reason, okay? I'm not sleeping on him at all.
And Vicky, if we do see a pair of Robs one of those all-around characters that can brawl up close but can also zone you. We heard EE talk about winning the neutral. If you're Rob, what do you have to do in that neutral to get to that advantage state?
Honestly, stay grounded on the stage and being able to take advantage of your opponent off stage, like usually for all their matchups, but in particularly when it comes to Rob, you have that recovery that you could really mix up your opponent, whether you want to go for a high recovery above the ledge or get the ledge invincibility as well. The thing is about Rob is that he's a large character, so his hurt box is larger than most characters in the roster.
And EE, if you're Rob, are you going to look to play more defensively and use that gyro, or are you going to be on the aggressive and be that offensive player that's going to look to apply that pressure for most of this match?
Well, I would say that depends on how the first 30 to 45 seconds of the match goes. If I feel like, okay, I can go out there, I connect the hit, and then I string it into a couple more, I have no reason to stop unless you give me a reason, okay? So I think whomever is going to open up with like that, just that fiery aggression right out the gate, that's going to be the difference maker. And I think Kira's probably going to be the one who goes for it. So that would be a good opportunity for Mark to just kind of do some counterplay, capitalize, and maybe make him think twice.
Mark SD King taking on Kira Flax. Winner will go ahead and face off against Nestboy 12 in winners final, the finals for regions 1 and 2. Looks like they're getting set for this matchup. And will we have that Rob Ditto? Yes, we will. Like we so correctly predicted. We're off to a good start here, gang. But here we go. A stage, Vicky, where you've got some real estate, a couple of platforms and Kalos here.
Yeah, so when it comes to this stage too, you're also going to have that middle ground to utilize that gyro and kind of stop your opponent from landing safely. You already see the trades going on between Kiraflex and Mark SD King, but surprisingly, the start of this match is a little bit slower than I was expecting from Kiraflex.
So EE, Mark SD King is the more red Rob. Kira Flax is the more pinkish tone Rob. So we'll certainly do our best to keep an eye on that. But as you mentioned, winning neutral will be the most important aspect of this matchup. And so far, both fighters, nobody really dominant in that neutral.
Well, you know what? I think the fact that it also went to Kalos kind of plays a role in that as well. You got a huge stage right here. Obviously, both these characters have terrific projectiles. They can take advantage of that ability to just zone whenever they want. So you're not going to see maybe that quick, flashy rushdown style right out the gate as they're kind of feeling each other out. But it looks like Kira, at the very least, is getting the slight advantage in percent.
Both Robs just having fun trading gyros back and forth at this point. Both of them on this first stock. You see Mark SD King being the first one to get to triple digits. And it seems like, Vicky, they're both really just feeling each other out at this point and trying to read the other and trying to condition as well, too.
Yeah, you see Mark SD already keeping Kiraflex off stage, but Kiraflex finding the proper opening to use that side B to get back safely. And you see that back here that you see Kiraflex kind of throw out by the ledge. It has a rather large hitbox. So if Mark SD actually jumps from the ledge, he will definitely be getting hit by that and losing his stock. As you see right here, unfortunately, he doesn't have to get off from the ledge, but rather get cornered instead. And with the retaliation back, Mark SD King trying to make a statement on his own, but he didn't have rage really to follow up there, despite the high percent from Kiraflex.
Yeah, Kiraflex doing a fine job of just reading and reacting as quickly as possible.
I mean, that was all just beautiful footwork that Kira used to take out that first stock. Just kind of juked him if you're paying attention to that. But Mark SD King able to retaliate, gets the up smash, and that is a powerful move that you're going to need anytime you're looking to just kind of close out a stock. So back on even footing, similar to what we saw to open the game.
Now, EE, is that footwork or base work with Rob? I'm trying to determine what we're going to call the base of Rob right there.
That's a good point. That's that good work. How about that?
That good work. I like that. That good work. Mark SD King, slight disadvantage over Kiraflex, but as you would expect in a Ditto match between two high-quality players, it is rather even at this point. And right now, we're seeing a lot of those robo beams come out here, Vicky, just to create some spacing opportunities as the other tries to navigate some of those gyros. Kiraflex unable, though, to get the KO with that forward air flying off the stage.
No, but he still managed to get so much percent. You can see this pressure and just being able to retreat back from the platform. Kiraflex is in such an aggressive role here versus Mark SD. I mean, this is still a Rob specialist between these two players. They mostly just play Rob for the entirety that I've known and seen these two players play it out. But you see Mark SD still holding on to the second stock despite taking so much damage. Kiraflex is still in such an advantage state.
Kiraflex connecting with that Robo Beam, all in control in the second stock at this point. And it seems like Kiraflex is doing a good job of just sort of keeping Mark SD King on the ropes and outside of that zone where you really want to operate. And that's what we really want to see from a defensive zoning character, is to keep them at bay and then find their opportunities like they did right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, those last 30 seconds, Mark SD King was terrified. He was over 130%. He should be on the run, okay? And Kiraflex understanding that he's going to continue to rush him down. No reason not to take your foot off the gas. When that KO is there, sometimes you got to go hunting for it. And that's what I'm seeing from my man Kiraflex.
Kiraflex taking the long recovery back on the stage, dropping a gyro to go ahead and keep Mark SD King occupied at this point. And this is that separation point in the game here, Vicky, where if you're Kiraflex, you just want to continue to rack up percentage, put yourself in the best position for that final stock.
Yeah, you see, he's not trying to overextend either. He's trying to actually just go for the follow-ups instead. That's why you didn't see him go for the side B by so close to Blast Zone when you had Mark SD King actually at the big disadvantage state that he was there. But finally finding his footing, I mean, maybe a little too late here, as he is jumping around Kiraflex a lot, and you saw how he was able to lose that second stock because of the fact that Kiraflex called out that jump with the large up air.
Mark SD King trying to hang on here, but it's been all Kiraflex in this first game between this Rob Ditto of Mark SD King and Kiraflex, and now it's Kiraflex regaining stage control yet again, and that's been kind of the theme of this final stock.
Yeah, it really just, it honestly, okay, well, there you go. There we go. Get a little bit of offense to maybe spark, maybe mount some type of comeback. It's very improbable, but it's not impossible. That's the one thing that if I'm Mark SD King, I kind of keep in mind, but you got to play this so close to the chest. And Kiraflex, he's been just so proficient in just hunting him down at these higher percents. It really feels like it's a losing battle, but it's not one that's over yet. You got a stock, you got a chance.
Kiraflex really doing a fine job of trapping Mark SD King with these gyros and then reading the recovery and options. And as you said, Vicky, really utilizing those follow-up opportunities to punish and rack up that damage.
Yeah, and you saw right there, that could have been it for Mark SD King if the side B connected, but the up air instead gonna hit as Mark SD King, but with a great DI and lack of rage from Kiraflex's part, Mark SD King is still gonna be able to find himself holding on to this last stock to try to bring it back, utilize this rage, and it's still very doable here for Mark SD King if he can find his down air.
Yeah, Mark SD King doing a fine job of just punishing that arm rotor coming out from Rob, and you saw leading that up to a combo, but Kiraflex not going to let any comeback happen on their watch. They close things out, and really just a fine job of Kiraflex in this Ditto match of being in the advantage for the majority of this match, using all of Rob's tools to really keep Mark SD King away from being up in their face, because we know Rob sometimes can struggle with fighters that are right in their face, applying that pressure.
I feel so, the match ended so abruptly. I feel so bad because he was just, it looked like it was like, we're thinking, okay, it's improbable, but it's not impossible. We're thinking Mark might have been able to do it, but then just one there just silences all of that. But no, Kira did, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? He got off out there with the lead early on. He maintained it the whole time. And Mark, again, he's just fighting an uphill battle against a character, obviously, you know well, but it's the same thing on the other side. Kira knows well, he knows what to do to keep you out, and it just wasn't anything he really do to make that comeback a reality.
Well, no surprises in the fighter selection. Rob Ditto once again on Battlefield. And Vicky, if you're Mark SD King, what adjustments do you see them possibly making in this second game?
Well, you saw him already adjusting in that last match. I mean, Kiraflex did have an exponential lead at the beginning, but you saw Mark SD King kind of creeping his way back towards evening things out with Kiraflex. And, you know, despite Kiraflex taking that first game, I know Kiraflex definitely felt like anything was possible there, because if the gyro setup worked out for Mark SD King, he could have utilized that rage to actually get an up smash kill, and now getting the down here, actually trying to reverse the situation. It's difficult to try to gimp Rob when he has such a great long recovery like that.
And that up air is such an effective tool for Rob. It seems like in Battlefield, you have to stay off these platforms because Rob, as you mentioned, a big, heavy, floaty character that's easy to hit.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's just one of those things where you just have to always know exactly where you are in the situation you're putting yourself in, because Rob does have a variety of ways to take stocks, and that back air being quite an efficient one as well. Kiraflex off to another tremendous start, as Mark SD King, he might be wishing he does SD at the moment, simply because he'll give him an excuse. Why am I losing like this, Jordan? What's going on?
Well, what's going on is that you've got Kiraflex here, Vicky, just doing a great job of being patient and looking for those openings to punish. And doing a great job defensively as well, too, not giving Mark SD King really any windows to close the gap.
Yeah, you see, Kiraflex has just been playing so well where he's not trying to overextend on his lead either. He's only going for these follow-ups and trying to utilize what he's been able to download off of Mark SD King, like whether he's going to try to jump from the ledge. You saw that Kiraflex was able to land that back air, and now that Kiraflex still has a stock lead, despite taking so much damage, you see him basically spinning away from it.
And that's what Rob can do. EE is rack up the damage and no shortage of KO options. It is all Kiraflex in the second game, just one stock away from advancing to winners finals.
And no doubt about who the superior Rob is at the moment. I mean, this is just, and this is almost what a lot of people might just expect, right? Kira has that rich history. He's been competing ever since Brawl. You have to go back just years to know. This guy has a very strong lineage in Smash Brothers, and obviously bringing that competitive fortitude to the battlefield. No pun intended, Jordan, but it is quite effective what we're seeing right now. Just a display of dominance.
Hey, I love puns. You can keep them coming, my friend. It's all Kiraflex in full control, Vicky. We see the grab into the side throw. And as you said before, Kiraflex not overextending themselves. And that's what we see sometimes when someone has a lead. You try to get flashy, you overextend yourself, trying to do things outside the scope of what your fighter should do. And that's when you leave that window for a comeback. You don't expect to see that from Kiraflex, a well-disciplined player.
Yeah, instead you see him just continuously adding in this pressure, utilizing these platforms. You saw him using the up airs right underneath him, and Mark SD unfortunately stuck in his shield. But now that we've been able to even things up on the ground where Mark SD King has been trying to hold on to the center stage, Kiraflex taking full advantage, running up with these down tilts and keeping him so close to the blast zone. Kiraflex looking like a shark, not letting go and continuously taking Mark SD to the blast zone.
The shark kick right there. It was the anniversary of Jaws. I mean, we got to mention that, and of course. But, you know, EE, what we saw once again was Kiraflex just using that relentless pursuit off stage when you need to, and being able to sort of turn that dial to aggressive versus defensive when you need it most is the sign of a top-level player, and Kiraflex displaying that, closing out that second game and moving on to winners finals.
Yeah, it's just it becomes so tough when you get in a situation where you're already down a stock kind of early. I think he had like 60-70% on him. Kira right there, he's just gonna have that elevated confidence, just keep going, rinse and repeat. What's working here? Oh, I'm putting pressure on you, you have to run away. It's hard to fight back when you're always just being smothered, you know what I mean? I think that's what Kira realized.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the updated bracket here as we now have our first two players in winners finals. It'll be Nestboy 12 taking on Kiraflex, and then Tipster and Mark SD King dropping down to losers semifinals. So up next will be that winners final between Nestboy 12 and Kiraflex. And so you're going to see a Nest taking on a Rob, and early impressions on that matchup, Vicky, as we see these two get set to square off.
I mean, it's kind of similar to how we're going to break it down between, we saw Nestboy versus Tipster, actually. Yeah, where, Tipster repping the Mega Man, having to be careful with those projectiles, but, Nestboy having to slow down his own pacing, utilizing his PK fires to approach, rather, forcing his opponent to stay in shield so that way he could go for a grab. Now you have Rob, who is a bigger character in terms of hurt box, so he is going to be more susceptible to getting hit by those PK fires, but, you have the side magnet on the side of Nestboy to really help him utilize to his advantage versus, like, the gyro and the beams that are going to be coming towards his way from Kiraflex.
Yeah, EE, that's what I'm really curious to see is how does Nestboy navigate the projectiles coming out from Kiraflex and then getting those opportunities to utilize that PK fire, which we see can really set up a lot of combo opportunities. Rob being a big character, it seems like if you are Kiraflex, you have to really extend your range and make sure you stay out of that range of that PK fire.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the things. So, like, it's one of those things like, okay, you might think Rob might want to stay grounded, but because Nest does have that PK fire, yes, he's going to kind of force some options. That's where it's going to be a good opportunity for Nestboy to try and capitalize. And the gyro, too. Don't let Kira just bully you with the gyro. You can play with that thing, too, okay? I need to see you snatch it and send it back to him as well. That's another good underrated tool against Rob. Just use his own arsenal against him.
And it seems like, Vicky, if you're Nestboy, you're pretty well conditioned to dealing with projectiles with that victory over Mega Man in the previous match. Rob doesn't have quite the projectile armory that Mega Man has right now, but you know that as Nestboy, if you can get in the air with Rob, you've got those fantastic aerials and a huge hitbox in Rob to work with.
It could be a little tricky because, Rob just could really barrage and overwhelm you, where you saw Flex absolutely take control over the stage. And you saw at the very end, especially that last stock, he was not afraid to hunt you down so that way he could finalize that KO. But, you're also coming out of the bracket where Flex, a player who actually was able to beat Numbreon, who was part of the SSBU NA Open Tournament winner from one of the regions that we had last year. And you saw that Numbreon actually mains Nest. So, Flex has that matchup downloaded, and going into the next match going forward, Nestboy is going to have to watch out and see what did Numbreon do wrong, where Flex was really able to utilize that to his advantage.
Yeah, and this is something we chatted about before the stream started. Was you've seen high level play before, and clearly top level players know their fighter in and out. But then you add that wrinkle of matchup knowledge and matchup experience, as Vicky alluded to, where, all right, I've already defeated a high-level Nest, so here I am facing another high-level Nest. I'm comfortable in this situation. That matchup experience, how important is that as we get closer to grand finals?
Well, I think that's everything, because one, you kind of keep in mind, okay, I'm one set away from making it into grand finals, as you just pointed out, and two, I've already beaten Nest, a talented Nest, to get to this point. I've played plenty of Nests throughout the entirety of my Smash career. Like, confidence and matchup knowledge isn't going to be an issue for Kira at all. It's going to be more on Nestboy, how he responds and how he gets off to a start as well. Do not allow Kira to bully you. That is the main thing. That's what he's made a name for throughout this tournament so far, is just a bully ball, okay? You gotta get down low.
And Vicky, you look at what we're going to see from Flex with Rob, but then as Nestboy, you figure the stage is going to play a huge role in what you're able to do. We saw earlier that there were some issues when we were on Lilac that you couldn't utilize that PK Thunder. All of a sudden you get a different stage and we see a couple of PK Thunders and a quick game. So stage selection, is that going to play a big role here for Nestboy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rob loves Lilac. Thankfully for Nestboy, he didn't have to fight Flex on Lilac, for at least right now, for what we know. But for all now, going forward, going into this match, we are going to start it off on Yoshi's Island, which the Dark Pit that I mentioned from Flex, he had not taken out this Dark Pit this entire bracket, but Flex coming to showcase his secondary that he's actually represented in tournament before.
And this is a big surprise here, EE, because we were just talking about, I'm a Rob, I had experience against a high-level Nest, why not rinse and repeat? But Dark Pit, you get some differences in this fighter, clearly. Well,
you're giving him a little bit of a different look. And, we have seen Kira in this tournament. He did use another character one time. It was Lucina. Did not result in the W. So if this is kind of like a similar situation where, okay, I'm going to try another character outside of Rob and I don't get the dub, I always have Rob to fall back on. But I'm not against maybe trying to mix it up a little bit and see what can come of this. Obviously, as Vicky pointed out, his Dark Pit is very proficient.
And Dark Pit going to be a lot harder to hit than Rob. Clearly, he's got a little bit more range on some of those arrows. But Vicky, if you are Dark Pit, where do you look for the advantage in this matchup against Nestboy?
Well, right here, you see Flex actually utilizing the side B to actually mix it up to get back to the stage safely. And it does have that ricochet effect that we saw from, Peach Bomber on Shield, where you kind of get drifted back and you can microspace that to catch your opponent off guard. But, seeing Nestboy right there with a great grab, great timing on that, because, by the ledge, that move could actually prove itself lethal, especially by the ledge where it's closer to the blast zone.
And EE, the aerial mobility that Flex chose with Dark Pit over Rob, it seems like that'll be huge against Nestboy, who really wants to get you in the air and rack up those combos.
Oh my goodness, yes indeed. But you see, he's spamming that side B a couple times. He's gotten actually punished, whether it be a grab or a back air, and that time gonna close it out. The yo-yo saying you got the go-go. Very impressive start right now for my man Nestboy.
Nestboy walking the dog and taking that first stock off of Flex. And now it's Flex though, Vicky, bouncing back very quickly to even things out.
Yeah, and you saw Nestboy already, utilize these fancy, tipster combos that you saw between the side magnet, being able to use the B-reverse, and now kind of stopping Flex from getting back to the stage safely. And this stock lead here from Nestboy, they're still in 2 stocks here, but he's still racking up so much percent and not really letting Flex land here, and kind of showing Flex that maybe you should have gone Rob against me and not slept.
Yeah, EE, it seems like Nestboy doing a terrific job of just reading Flex and finding those openings. Flex getting a little too generous with that side B, and we saw Nestboy really punish that to lead into a combo.
Absolutely. One thing I'm really loving is, and this is just from like the first time we saw him play, is Nestboy, he has such terrific movement. It seems like he's just really comfortable no matter what stage you put him on. And remember, this was the dominant stage where he absolutely just destroyed Tipster in their last game to push it to this point and get into winners final. So he's already feeling very comfortable. If that back air sweet spotted, that would have been another stock off. But we'll settle for the yo-yo. Why not?
Another yo-yo. It was walk the dog first, then it's around the world the second time. I'm going to run out of yo-yo terms here, by the way, soon. So I'm hoping for a different KO, Vicky. But once again, it's Nestboy just being patient, reading the recovery of Kiraflax to take that second stock.
Yeah, and that's something else you're going to see, the yo-yo being able to be utilized around the ledge, actually managing to find its clipping, but the electroshock arm having to force Kiraflax to go for that high recovery. And the thing about Dark Pit is he's just kind of like a sitting duck whenever he has to recover, and that's why you see Kiraflax using the side B instead a few times. And on his last stock here, Nestboy has just been running away with this lead.
Yeah, and EE, we saw that PK Thunder track down Kiraflex like your mama after curfew, and very impressive just once again the edge guarding that we're seeing from Nestboy to go ahead and take a huge advantage in this game.
Well, if it's anything like my mom, just surrender now, okay? That's a losing battle, let me tell you right now, which could be the case for Kiraflax. He is definitely struggling. I mean, this Dark Pit has just not been the option. So you got to imagine going into game 2, barring some miracle of a comeback, the Rob has got to make a reemergence.
And Nestboy not really having to utilize that PK fire to set things up, just looking for those opportunities where Kiraflax whiffs and punishing those whiffs as well too, Vicky, has been the key to success. And that throw still not enough to take care of business. And that's one thing Rob gives you, a little bit more KO power over Dark Pit.
Yeah, especially with the up throw that, Rob has, but Kiraflax, you could see the way he's playing now. He's playing I would not say scared, despite, this advantage that Nestboy has, but super slow pacing where he's recognizing, all right, I'm obviously losing here, but if I slow down my pacing, Nestboy won't be able to keep up to par with me, and that's exactly what you're seeing from Kiraflax, where he's just utilizing more so that arrow, but jumping right into that back air, it's not going to be enough just yet, and Kiraflax being able to get back safely, despite the charge up on the yo-yo, you have nowhere to go, Kiraflax, and that shield looking like a skittle. Kiraflax, though, still managing to stay in the game.
Kiraflax unable to punish after the cooldown with that, and that might have been a huge opportunity to take advantage, and now it's Kiraflax on the ropes. Nestboy throwing out that yo-yo. Kiraflax trying to stay away from the toy aisle, but it's Nestboy using the shield, trying to punish, and this is where Nestboy, you just got to stay consistent and not get too worked up with the fact that Kiraflax has started to even things out here at EE and make this quite the game.
Yeah, honestly, Kiraflax came into his last stock. He was essentially just playing with house money. He had nothing to lose at this point. It really is Nestboy who's on the run. And 2 times we see Kira has survived those false finishes. And really, if you're Nestboy, what are you thinking? Like, what do I got to do to put this guy away?
Ooh.
Kiraflax avoiding the yo-yo one more time. That could have been 3 KOs courtesy of the yo-yo. Kiraflax trying to find that opening, hopping off stage. Nestboy holding shield. Both fighters really just trying to find that opportunity for the other to slip up here, Vicky. And right now, some very patient, cautious play here as the timer starts to wind down.
A few things right now that Nestboy could be looking out for. You see that grab coming out, that back throw from Nest being one of the strongest in the game and could find that KO, but managing to get the move in and mix up going forward. Nestboy now utilizing the momentum once again with the side magnet and kind of catching Kiraflax off guard, thinking he was safe to drop that shield, but getting hit in the face with that back air instead.
Yeah, EE, those quick, disjointed back airs coming out from Nest. We saw almost took the KO in the final stock 2 times, but third time was a charm. And it sort of sneaks up on you in neutral because Nest, listen, doesn't have the longest arms or longest legs, still shopping in the kiddo section, but those disjoints can really catch you off guard.
Absolutely. Honestly, I love the finish to that because we hadn't really seen that side magnet mix-up so much coming from Nestboy up until that point. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm backed into the corner. I'm letting Kiraflax get all this momentum, letting him kind of snowball, and his lead really getting away from me. So pulling that one like a rabbit out the hat was actually a perfect way for Nestboy to close that out. But props to Kiraflax, man. He made it close.
And now we see Kiraflax going back to Rob. We'll see what adjustments take place here. Found some momentum in the second half of that game as Dark Pit, but Kiraflax going to go with Rob. And what's your thinking on this decision here, Vicky? Because you almost took the first game. Why the fighter selection change at this point?
Well, I definitely don't agree with the attempt using the Dark Pit. Like, I know I made a joke about, Kiraflax just low-key sleeping, but he actually wasn't. It could be quite difficult to try to get into Ness's space with how large of these hitboxes between his Fair and PK Fire, especially on Rob. We were talking about that this character has a large hurt box, but, this is the character that Kiraflax has been most comfortable using as his main. And you saw in the last stock when he was was using Dark Pit, that he has that competitive mindset and mentality where if he needs to slow down the game, he definitely will, with a character that does have the tools to try to contest Ness a lot easier.
And EE, what I find interesting here is that you have the gyros to control the ground level on this stage on a small map. That's going to force Nessboy to go to the air, and when you go to the air, you're in trouble against Rob in that up air.
Yeah, you also don't have that much, honestly, you don't have that much space to work with too. Like, you're not going to have that many escape options. That's something that Kiraflex is really going to be able to capitalize on. You see him already taking care of business on that first stock. And again, Ness just kind of getting trapped on this platform, not where he wants to be. And Kiraflex doing a good job fading out, even with the pressure from these up airs. He's not putting himself in any kind of situation that's going to allow Nessboy to get some easy retaliation.
Yeah, and Vicky, it's a lot to juggle. If you're Nessboy, you got to worry about those gyros, whether to catch them, whether to avoid them, and then you have Rob chasing you down. If you're Ness, you have that high second jump that's going to land you on the platform, and if you're Rob, you love it when people are up above you.
Yeah, and you have to think about how the fact that now Nessboy has to readapt around Kiraflex. Now, instead of the Dark Pit, it's the Rob, and Kiraflex has already gotten that sort of download to recognize how Nessboy's rhythm has been, especially with Ness, and getting that side. You can see how much knockback that has, especially close to the blast zone, but Nessboy narrowly seeing another day before he could find himself not able to get back to the stage, and Kiraflex being able to utilize that disadvantage that Nessboy put himself in with already such a large lead here. Nessboy has to figure out a way to make this comeback, but with Rob being so heavy, it can be very difficult.
And Kiraflex highlighting, deleting, and rewriting this script right now, taking a huge 2-1 stock lead, and it's being the offensive-minded Rob here that's really helped Kiraflex turn the momentum in this match here, EE.
It seems like this, honestly, I'm watching this and I'm like, why did you even switch characters? What was the purpose? I mean, this kind of fits to your game plan, right? You want to go ahead and impose your will, and this Rob is just allowing him to do that so well, especially on the stage, kind of rolling the dice and getting here on Yoshi, just the other version of Yoshi, obviously. It's really working out well for Kira, and I'm just kind of head scratching, like, why did we see anything but at this point? But nonetheless, I think we know what we're going to see if we go to that game 3, which is looking pretty likely at the moment.
EE, sometimes we learn our greatest lessons from our greatest failures, and it seems like Kiraflex learning quickly that, listen, Dark Pit might have been a cute choice, but the Rob is what got me here, and the Rob is what's going to give me the best chance as Kiraflex just a few more connections away from getting this KO and tying things up 1-1 here, Vicky, and the offensive onslaught continues from Rob and Kiraflex.
Yeah, you can see Kiraflex living in the mind of Nessboy rent-free, but also you can see just the patience being displayed from Kiraflex where, you know, he's not trying to overextend. He's just waiting to see what Nessboy's opting to do and just going for the follow-ups, and he hasn't been too eager. He sees that he's in this lead, and, you know, despite taking so much damage in the second stock, it seems almost nearly impossible for Nessboy to try to bring this back on his last stock at nearly 150%.
And this is what's interesting, EE, is Kiraflex has that longer recovery with Rob, and you have a chance to sort of dance around the edge guarding and ledge trapping used with that yo-yo by Nessboy that was so efficient last game.
Yeah, that's the kind of fuel that you really need in situations where obviously you have a character that can really just put a lot of pressure on the ledge, on the edge, and just kind of keep you off. But that's not really the situation with Rob. He has just an insane recovery, and he's really just used that to perfection. And at the moment now, Nessboy is just dodging, just broken, just hoping to stay alive, and he's gonna just lose it to the back there. Yeah.
The well-timed back air coming out from Kiraflex has notched things up 1-1 as we get set for a decisive game 3 to see who moves on to grand finals here between Kiraflex and Nessboy. And Vicky, really, it was the switch to Rob and being able to control the map. That's what really stood out to me, was that it seemed like Nessboy didn't have a lot of options for safe mobility and was always sort of playing the defensive mindset, avoiding everything that Rob was throwing out.
Yeah, just the fact that Kiraflex had just a strong opening, he was able to kind of run away with the lead. And the thing is that when you are now having to try to chase Rob for that lead, you can't be playing as defensive, because now Kiraflex can't actually afford to sit by, watch you try to hold forward. I mean, you saw already, he wasn't trying to overextend. He kind of waited to see what Nessboy was trying to do. So that way he was like, all right, am I going to go for the side B? Am I going to go for the down smash? He didn't try to overextend. And now with that, Kiraflex still sticking to the Rob. He recognized, you know, despite being such a big character and being susceptible to getting hit very easily, we are now playing on my playground, and that's going to be Lilat.
And as we said, third time we've seen Lilat already from 8 randomly curated selected stages here. And It's going to be interesting to see how Nestboy adjusts to this stage once again here. And Kiraflex, you figure, EE, you're going to see that same aggression as always to keep Nestboy on the ropes.
Well, and there's absolutely no doubt about it, especially when you throw those platforms into the mix too. He's going to be trying to exploit everything he can. This is going to be a tough situation for Nestboy. Gets the bounce back. Oh, please, Kira! You didn't even let us see. There was no suspense. It was just destruction, my lord.
Kiraflex with the spoiler, didn't want any drama on that first stock, and already though, Nestboy able to come back and said, now hold on a second. There's still a lot more to this match. Don't run away from me quite yet. And Vicky, right now, you see Nestboy trying to get Rob up in the air, does so effectively, and those aerial combos so effective from Nestboy that come out, and now has really taken the momentum from this game, and it's Kiraflex that is on the offensive. Excuse me, Nestboy on the offensive, Kiraflex looking for answers.
It's almost like what we were talking about earlier. You know, Nestboy couldn't afford last game to sit by because of the way that Kiraflex opened up the match, but now it's kind of Kiraflex sitting in the passenger seat, waiting to find the opportunity to try to close in this gap, but Nestboy not letting loose and taking full advantage of the fact that Kiraflex cannot land against these large up airs, and Nestboy a stock away from trying to proceed through grand finals, and Kiraflex now having to match up with Nestboy and kind of reach back and try to bring this comeback going on.
Yeah, Nestboy just reading Kiraflex like a book on that second stock. No options whatsoever for a safe landing or safe recovery. Buckle your seatbelts here, EE, because it's all Nestboy on this third and final game.
Well, you better buckle that seatbelt, okay, because Nestboy's taking you for a ride, okay, and there's no ending sight the way he's performing at the moment. I mean, Kira just had that tremendous start, but just the resilience of Nestboy almost immediately snatching it back, and now he's got himself such a powerful lead. It's almost like Kira had to do something immediately in that back air yet again, coming to his aid and put himself in a position to at least maybe bring this one back. Not trailing by that much, but when you have that momentum that Nestboy does, it's hard to pull that off.
Kiraflex ready to not power off quite yet. Nestboy, Kiraflex, final stock, trying to advance to grand finals. Loser gets sent down to the losers bracket. Nestboy really battled back in that second stock. Kiraflex has dominated the first and final stock so far. But now, both fighters starting to get a little apprehensive in their approaches, a little bit more cautious here, Vicky. And when you look at that caution, that changes the play style, clearly.
Yeah, you see Kiraflex kind of holding back, knowing that his buddy over here, Gyro's got his back, kind of tanking in these PK fires and acting as like an active hitbox here for Nestboy to respect. And that's the situation here. Kiraflex, you know, when we saw the Dark Pit coming out where he was on his last stock, he had to be extremely careful and he slowed down the pacing. And you're seeing a very similar case, except now Kiraflex has to try to mix it up to try to get back to the stage, opting to go for that aggressive route to try to contest Nestboy, because right here, if he gets hit in the middle of a jump with that backer, that's could be a kiss goodbye to his last stock.
Yeah, Kiraflex doing a fine job here, EE, of getting out of that disadvantaged state. We know Nestboy really wants to punish you there, but the back air coming out from Nestboy, and that'll close it. So even after the hot start from Kiraflex, it was the consistency, the persistence, and the patience of Nestboy 12 that carries them on to grand finals, EE.
And just honestly, by the skin of his teeth, because Kira was definitely picking it up, getting a lot of steam, and he was feeling pretty good about the deficit he was able to make up. But yet again, we see Nestboy, he's got that clutch gene. You can't necessarily teach that, okay? But you can extract upon it when you need to, and that's exactly what he did. And he earned his trip to grand finals.
Yeah, and Vicky, it makes that Dark Pit selection by Kiraflex just a little bit more head-scratching because we saw how well they played with Rob. And so let's take a look at the updated bracket here in just a moment as we see who advances to grand finals, and that'll be Nestboy 12, a tightly contested 2-1 match. Nestboy getting the upper hand in 2 3-game matches to go to grand finals. And that'll leave Tipster and Mark SD King up next. But for right now, we're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we will go ahead and bring you the losers bracket as we get set to find a champion in our Region 1 and 2 finals for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open May 2020. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open May 2020 Finals for Regions 1 and 2. Jordan Kent alongside Vicky Kitty and EE. Don't forget, this is a double header today on this Sunday. After we get finished here crowning a champion for Regions 1 and 2, we'll go ahead and bring you the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. Myself, Ashley Esqueda, and Nine will go ahead and bring you the action of the top 4 teams out of nearly 750 teams for some Splatoon 2 action. So make sure you stick around for that after Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And so as we get set for the losers bracket here, EE, we're going to have Tipster taking on Mark SD King in our first matchup here. And once again, we'll see most likely another Rob with Mark SD King, but Tipster and that Mega Man. So two kind of heavier zoning characters that can have a well-rounded play style here. So your thought on this Mega Man versus Rob potentially?
Well, it's pretty much just a battle of the bots, right? I mean, you know, I think Tipster has shown us more of what he's capable of. We didn't really get to see too much from Mark so far, right? He went up against Kiraflax and then just kind of got washed in that set. So we haven't really got an opportunity to see what he's capable of really bringing to the table. However, I will say that going up against Tipster in the, the loser semifinals, he'll have maybe more of an opportunity to kind of showcase what he's about and what got him to this dance.
And don't sleep on Tipster here, Vicky, because you go 2-1 with Nestboy, and Nestboy clearly in the grand finals right now. And with that Mega Man, we saw being able to really utilize that Leaf Shield and Metal Blade for combo follow-up opportunities was what gave them success. And Rob, once again, being a larger character, you figure that's just throwing a baseball at the side of a barn. You're eventually going to hit it. And so this seems like for Mega Man, you've got quite the advantage with all these projectiles.
You're going to be seeing a lot more Leaf Shield, especially when it comes to trying to approach. Mark SD, he was playing phenomenally, but, you had Kiraflax that just was able to utilize the advantage stay a lot better and just kind of keeping Mark SD on his toes. And now switching over to the situation where we're going to have Tipster on the Mega Man, he's going to be able to utilize the up airs to try to contest Mark SD from trying to get back to the stage. He has the pellets to try to clip him, but, Mark SD is going to have projectiles to answer on his own. So kind of following from what EE said, it's the battle of the bots, and, whoever could close in that distance and whoever could win that projectile patient war is going to really be able to utilize their advantage stay over the other opponent better.
Yeah, EE stage control seems to be huge in this one. Both fighters capable of using so many different tools to control the stage, condition their opponent. It seems like, yes, neutral is always important, but if you can go ahead and control that stage and chop off a section of it, that'll make it that much easier. And no surprises, we see Mega Man versus Rob in this first game between Tipster and Mark SD King.
Gonna be a good one, and I think Battlefield actually probably one of the better stages that both of these guys could have hoped to get, honestly, when you really think about is how the layout goes. And there's the projectile-based game, which we're gonna see now. I noticed already Tipster trying to walk and work his way in early on, but do not allow yourself to get too comfortable. That's where Mark SD King is gonna use those tools of Rob and just send you right back out.
By the way, a shout out to the Mob Smash track. That is an absolute slap on this soundtrack here. Early on, neither fighter with a huge advantage here, and it's Tipster versus Mark SD King. And right now, you see Tipster missing with that back air. Mark SD King trying to follow up, thrown out again. A couple of those safe forward air approaches. And Vicky, those are some safe approaches for Rob when you're looking at how you can sort of take advantage in that neutral.
Yeah, using that fair, rather quick move for Rob to try to approach in, but, you have Tipster at the same time having to be wary of the gyro, and he did have a good amount of stage control for the most part, but now reversing the situation, you have Mark SD King, who's been able to utilize these gyros and control the space mostly, where Tipster has had to been forced to respect that space.
Mark SD King trying to hold center stage, but it's Tipster that's able to knock them off the map. Recovery, that Robo Beam though, EE. Tipster gonna eat all of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, stacking up the damage where it counts in 149. And look, Mega Man, he's a heavy boy, but even he will soon fall prey to, as we've seen plenty of times, Rob's so good at connecting those up airs, the back air, a multitude of ways to take the stock off right now. But Mark has to be careful as well. His stock is not protected by any means. Mega Man is a heavy hitter in this game.
And Tipster really unable to punish some of those ledge trapping opportunities here, Vicky, and that's something where we saw Mark SD King really struggle in the first matchup against Kiraflax, and it's going to be Mark SD King taking this first stock here, Vicky.
Yeah, Mark SD King being able to utilize the follow-up from that grab and finalizing that stock, but still Tipster was able to live for a while. And, you know, despite this lead that Mark SD King has, it's not that far away from what Tipster could try to bring this back if Mark SD King does struggle to find his way back to the stage. And it happens to be so with Tipster now, only taking 10% in the second stock, almost at a dead even game here, Jordan.
Yeah, that down air hard knuckle going to close things out on that first stock for Mark SD King. And now both fighters into the second stock, and as we mentioned, EE, it's a battle of the bots, and it's been relatively even so far. Nobody being really dominant, just finding those opportunities, if they present themselves, to go in and punish your opponents.
Yeah, I almost feel like there's not even as much of a kind of like feeling each other out process as this is their first meeting, but they're just exchanging blows. Obviously, right now, Mark is getting the better of the situation, but it hasn't been anything where anyone seems like they're really holding too much back, right? It's just right out the gate. We're just going to go ahead, exchange those blows. And the fact of the matter is, I think it really benefits Rob in the long run, because I think Rob has the better projectile game and the stronger combo tools as well when it really comes down to it.
Yeah, you mentioned those projectiles, and Vicky, Rob with the gyro and that robo beam, some faster, longer projectiles than Mega Man. Mega Man has the metal blade, the leaf shield, and those pellets, but they're a little slow and they don't cover the entire map.
Yeah, that's why you see sometimes Tipster trying to jump in with the leaf shield instead, and because Rob is so big, he is susceptible to getting hit easier, but that's not always the case here. As you see Tipster trying to use the metal blade to try to close in this gap, and now using that leaf shield to keep Marcus D by the ledge, but the gyro coming through, and the follow-up not connecting, with Tipster being able to utilize that up tilt, being able to take Mark SD King kind of off guard at the same time and chasing him to the heavens. You see Tipster trying to fish out that up air.
Yeah, and EE, that up tilt from Mega Man, one of those sneaky KO options, but down throw into up air coming out from Mark SD King, a trademark combo for Rob.
Yeah, nothing sneaky about that. Just efficient and effective, which he just which Rob is just gonna love to take advantage of and exploit anytime. And right there, you gotta give an assist to the gyro, and that allowing Mark to rack up even more damage. And just like that, if you blink, you might have missed it. 69% tacked on. Make it 79. I'm doing math right now, Jordan.
It's all good. Yeah, Vicky, Mark SD King getting his homework done before the weekend, because you see the huge advantage with a stock lead as well too, and that's what you're looking for to find the separation in this first game. It is all Mark SD King looking to close things out. Tipster trying to do their best, throwing an onslaught of projectiles with Mark SD King trying to recover. Oh, but the down smash, well read there by Tipster, Vicky.
It was interesting to see Tipster kind of condition Mark SD to think that he was going to go for the back airs. I mean, you know, Mega Man back air being so quick, it wasn't a bad idea, and it could have caught Mark SD King's jump, but instead Mark SD showed some respect, and Tipster being able to see that fear in his eyes, he was able to use that smash attack to take out that stock, but taking so much percent already on his own, he needs to try to land here and not get hit by another one of these up airs that Mark SD has been able to utilize as an anti-air approach.
Oof. And Mark SD King right there, EE. How about that? Avoiding the back air coming out from Tipster, taking advantage of the neutral air, follows up with that up air to win this first game.
Yeah, I knew those platforms again were going to be huge in this, you know, just in this bout, regardless of the fact. But I saw that he tried to go and just maybe take a little bit of a breather on that top platform, and Mark was just like, "Nope, I know where you're going," tracking you down, and the up air was there waiting for him.
And Vicky, it seems like a common recipe for success, but it seems like if you're Tipster and using Mega Man, you have to get in close to Mark SD King and to be able to apply that pressure up close in their face and then follow up with some efficient ledge trapping. You can't just let Mark SD King zone you out with that gyro and robo beam throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, he covered it already, basically, where, you know, Rob has that advantage when it comes to that projectile state, and Mega Man kind of stutters behind, but Mark SD, the consistency that he's had versus Tipster, where Tipster now has had to kind of slow down his own pacing and trying to go for conditioning tools himself. Tipster's not out of this game yet, as you can see right here, with already a lead to open up with the percentage, but, you know, Tipster now trying to respect Mark SD's space and trying to find a way to get in that opening that you were mentioning.
Mark SD King already at a bit of a disadvantage in this first stock. Tipster being a little bit more aggressive. Back throw followed by the Clash Bomber. That connects off stage. Metal Blade gets eaten by Mark SD King, and EE, Mega Man can just sort of chip away at you with all these projectiles. It's not a big flashy hit, but eventually you take enough of these and you'll see your percentage start to really rack up.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you got pellets coming at you, metal blades, like that stuff really just starts to kind of frustrate you mentally when you're just like, okay, I'm trying to get in, I'm trying to get my offense going, but he's keeping me at bay and I'm just taking damage just for being able to approach. That's why one good thing about that battlefield layout in the previous game, it allowed Mark to get in more easily and kind of put Tipster in situations that he wanted him in. Right not necessarily the case. Well, up until that point, okay, because that was a crazy and well-timed up smash, just off the gyro connect as well.
And Tipster's up smash, not enough to get the KO. Rob with just a few more batteries in the back to kind of keep that weight down at this point. But we are now once again even at this point here, Vicky. And you like what you're kind of seeing from Tipster. A bit of a change, a little bit more aggressive in-your-face play style is what you expected. That would be the adjustment in the second game.
You can see now him, Tipster, utilizing more of that leaf shield, kind of sending Gyro back towards Mark SD, but with these follows from Mark, he's been able to take advantage of this percent lead, and Tipster finding his way back. You see him utilizing these succession of forward airs and trying to figure out a way to jump around Mark SD. I mean, you saw that Mark SD was actually awaiting the back airs when, you know, Tipster was jumping around his personal space, but now Mark's struggling to get back to this ledge and struggling to find himself getting back to the advantage state. As you can see, Tipster now kind of eating out this game for himself.
Yeah, the Mega Buster is busy right now, EE, because we just saw Mega Man throw out pellets, forward smashes, and metal blades to really keep Mark SD King in that disadvantage. And now both fighters on that equal plane at this point, and we see Tipster really operating well, EE, in sort of that mid-range area where a lot of those slower projectiles can connect on Mark SD King.
And I love how he is operating, because essentially he's just baiting Mark to make a play, try and make a. Oh, okay, I was gonna say that again. Like every time a back air just ends up quelling and just ending all the momentum. But no, still gonna go the way of Mark. Yes, just barely getting the kill, and he is, the KO, and just yet again imposing his will, but only for the moment at 135.
And Vicky, those down throws lead into so many KO confirmations for Rob, and that's what makes him such a dangerous fighter, because if they can get the robotic arms on you at a high percentage, it's basically stock food at that point. Tipster trying to hang tight on this final stock, but it is all Mark SD King, creating a little bit more real estate between the two of them now here, Vicky.
Yeah, you see him racking up that rage as well, and you see him trying to utilize that, taking him close to that blast zone with the side B. Mark SD trying to expand on this lead as much as he can. I mean, he knows Tipster could potentially get a little upset at the fact that that metal blade for his second stock didn't connect when he did get grabbed. So, you know, trying to live in the mind of your opponents right here is also key, and Tipster at least maintaining the stage advantage. It's very doable for him, but he needs to find the stock immediately if he does want to make that climb.
Tipster taking quite a bit of damage. Another down throw, able to evade that to avoid an early KO. But Mark SD King doing what you got to do as Rob, and that's stay alive. You'll go ahead and accept that KO. Nothing wrong with that, because you got a huge lead here, EE, on this final stock.
No.
Oh my goodness, just the time is a little off. Oh my goodness, and just an abrupt end to that game will give Mark SD King the 2-0 victory. I mean, from start to finish, Jordan, you gotta admit, he just rushed him down and took him to town, man. That's it. That's all you gotta do.
Rob sending Mega Man back to Dr. Light for some repairs here, and we want to obviously thank Tipster for coming in and giving us a great show over a couple of matches. But as Mark SD King and their Rob advancing here, Vicky, and now it looks like we'll have yet another Rob Ditto as Kira Flex and Mark SD King will face off once again. But what we saw was the adjustment from Mark SD King to create a little bit more space. And then when things got close, Vicky, I felt like Mark SD King did a great job of being able to get some of those grabs, which led into so many different combo conversions.
Yeah, he knew that Tipster really wanted to hold shield the same way that you had Mark SD hold his own shield against the projectiles. And, you know, when you're going for those empty hops, you're conditioning your opponent to hold shield a lot more often. And Mark SD took full advantage of, you know, gyro being a pressure tool in that equation and utilizing the grabs that Rob has to follow up into KO potential moves instead.
Let's take a look at the updated bracket here as we march our way through the losers bracket on the bottom half of your screen right now. And it is Kira Flex and Mark SD King facing off yet again. They saw each other in winners semifinals where Kira Flex took 2 of the first games to go ahead and get a 2-0 win. Let's see if Mark SD King, Rob is warmed up. Everything's operating well. Let's see if Kira Flex can go ahead and close things out in this losers final. And yet another Rob Ditto most likely here, EE. And I mean, like you said, you know your own fighter as best as you can, but it seems like winning neutrals you pointed to earlier is going to be the key in this similar mirror match.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw this face off in winter semis, and now we get to see the run back. So if I'm Kira Flex, I'm tap dancing, okay? Because I remember what took place in that winter semis, and it was a very convincing win. However, Mark SD King, perhaps it's the fact that he was able to go over Tipster 2-0, which could be a little bit of a shot of adrenaline, a little bit of a boost in that confidence leading into the showdown.
And Vicky, if you're like me and you have a terrible short-term memory, let's jog everybody's memory. In that last matchup, what we saw really was from Kiraflex just patience. It seemed like against Mark SD King, finding those opportunities to punish and really not giving Mark SD King too many windows. So you were playing a bit more of a safe defensive game, reading them and then finding those moments. It seems like that's what you'll probably go with because it worked so well the first time.
I mean, you could see the different levels of footwork from Mark SD within his last match versus Tipster, actually, where he was even going for the full combo extend, where even if Tipster wasn't in the full gyro to side B expansion, Mark SD still overly committed to that. And I feel like that's the prime difference between Kiraflex, where he's more standby, wait to see what they're going to do so that way I could use that to my advantage later on as a second assist. But I don't know if you're going to even be able to play in your first stock here, as Mark SD happens to lose that so quickly to Kiraflex, opening up with an explosive side B off that gyro combo.
That was quick. That was very quick.
I mean, it was just so calculated. It almost looked scripted, right? You know what I'm saying? You got the rehearsal for the play, and you know, right now you just wonder who's the understudy, okay? Because they're not coming back for the main show. That was just disgusting. What a way for Kiraflex to open up this very crucial losers final.
Yeah, Kiraflex getting off to a terrific start here, but a smaller map here, Vicky, so it seems like that stage control with the gyros will really be crucial in this matchup.
Yep, you can see too how the juggle of the gyros is happening between both of these players, and Kiraflex trying to add in that pressure. You saw him with the dash back to try to see what Mark SD was going to do there. And, you know, Mark SD knowing the gyro conversion into the side B, you know that Mark SD is definitely trying to redeem himself after that one. You can see the placement of the gyro from Mark and, trying to utilize what follow-ups he could get between the down air and also the up smash himself.
Kiraflex, Mark SD King. Kiraflex trying to take a huge two-stock advantage here. Mark SD King trying to battle back after taking that early stock loss. Nice little bounce back retaliation here at EE, and you feel like Mark SD King starting to really stabilize a little bit and sort of settle down after the rocky start.
Absolutely. I mean, it could actually be, oh my goodness, yes. The arm rotor it giveth and it taketh away, okay? It's just such an impact tool. You saw Kira use that to actually take the lead, and then Mark using it to take the lead right back, and maybe that's going to be tilting enough to allow him to close out this game.
Mark SD King, how about that turnaround? Taking Kiraflex on a walk outside without arm rotor, but Kiraflex answering back with the arm rotor, and now we find ourselves down to the final stock in an explosive first game in this losers final here, Vicky.
Kind of pointing at each other with those arm rotors and kind of saying, I know what you are, but what am I? And just retaliating back with these side Bs back and forth. Kiraflex, though, now playing a little bit of a slower paced game as, Mark SD being able to run away with this lead and keeping Kira off stage with these gyro pressure.
Right now, it's Kiraflex that is on the ropes in this final stock of this game, and Mark SD King, after eating an early stock, doing a great job of bouncing back and playing a little bit more aggressive here, EE, using those gyros, and what we saw that first matchup, missing with a lot of these approaches. Now it's Mark SD King finally connecting with a lot of the aggression here.
Exactly, Joy. Couldn't say any better myself, because now you're not seeing this more defensive style. You're seeing a confident play from Mark SD King, and he brought that all the way back to secure victory in that first game. And that's very telling going even deeper into the set, because that's going to already let you know Kira's thinking in the back of his mind, what the heck went wrong in those 5 seconds where I let him go off like that?
And Vicky, it seems like those gyros, I was talking to you about the throw confirmations and how you don't want Rob to get his hands on you, but it seems like those gyros, once they connect, Mark SD King did a great job of following up with so many different options once you were able to connect with that gyro.
Yeah, it was funny too, just to watch how they were able to juggle the gyros, because, once you're able to grab the gyros, that gyro then in turn becomes your projectile to work with. And since we have the gyros that are color coordinated for the Rob skins, you could see that it's a juggle on its own, where now it's kind of trying to figure out, is this still my gyro or is it not still my gyro? And Mark SD being able to keep track of that, keeping Kiraflex now stuck between the gyro. You can see how much percent that Kira's already taken on just from those down tilts alone.
Yeah, EE, I called my pops this morning. I said, what do you want today, Dad? He said, son, give me a lot of Rob matchups. That's all I need. And this is what we continue to get here. Mark SD King, Kiraflex. Mark SD King 1 game away from going into grand finals. Kiraflex, who had been dominant previously, trying to find the answers here to a much more aggressive, much more polished Mark SD King as it looks. And Now you've got a few more platforms to navigate, and Mark SD King, as we said, EE, has to be very proficient in how they recover, because Puriflex can really do a lot of damage once they get you off the map.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, center stage is so crucial and so important. That's really something that Mark's going to want to play as often as he can. You saw him trying to punish Puriflex. Recovery attempt there, but the arm rotor just forwarding that. And yet again, they're just going to trade arm rotors. Doesn't always have to result in a stock loss for it to be incredibly efficient. You're going to see that play all the time throughout this Ditto, as we've seen in the past.
Puriflex trying to trap Mark SD King. You see the gyro on the edge of the map. Down throw into up there, Vicky. Just like the sun rising in the morning, you can count on it.
Yeah, Kira being able to follow from that throw combo that we've seen him utilize before, and now kind of camping out by the ledge here, actually just using the ledge to his ability to throw out the gyro safely. But you have to watch out when you want to hit Mark on his shield. You saw like he was ready to retaliate right back, and you know, before in that last match we saw Kira get actually punished for throwing out the gyro with a back air of Mark's SD's own, and you can see the pressure continuously being put on the shield, and Puriflex not trying to overextend here, instead trying to still buy in this space that he's been able to make for himself.
And EE, these are the West Region Finals. It's just after 11. It seems like the coffee's starting to kick in for Mark SD King, really starting to turn things around and just being much more aggressive, much more awake. How about the arm rotor? Take you for yet another ride here, EE.
This is a fantastic display from Mark, and it really kind of shows you what perseverance is about. You can get absolutely destroyed in one contest and then come back and retake control in another. This has been terrific, and for Mark, he couldn't really ask for a better position to be in right now. Yeah, you're at 113, but you have an opportunity to really extend this lead. What are you going to do with it though, Mark? That is the question I'm posing to you, because Kira is not ready to let this one go just yet.
And this is a big moment here, Vicky. If Mark SD King can recover and get back to neutral and rack up some damage, you see that lead going into that third stock. That's exactly what happens here. Huge turn of events for Mark SD King.
And that was such a tricky situation to be in. Mark SD actually keeping himself composed, and despite getting hit up with the gyro, you saw Puriflex almost trying to retaliate back with a combo of his own, but Mark SD utilizing his own gyro, kind of comboing it from that, getting the grab onto Puriflex and further pushing his way through the advantage. And he's just a game away, Jordan, from pushing himself into the grand finals to try to get his revenge.
Yeah, Mark SD King staying alive when it matters the most. 2-1 stock lead has got Puriflex nearly to 100%. Yep, you'll go ahead and take that, EE, but now you've got a bit of a head start as you race for the finish line with Puriflex, trying to close this out on this second game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mark has looked almost unstoppable to this point. You know, Kira obviously maybe not comfortable being in this situation where he's the one who has to play kind of with a little bit of hesitation. Don't want to get in a situation to allow him to close it out, but just like that, I didn't even put a period on that sentence, okay, before he put on like 78%. Man is going off right now, giving himself an opportunity to get to game 3.
Puriflex trying to force that game 3, as you mentioned before. Mark SD King just trying to hold on. One stock is all that stands between them and a trip to grand finals against Nestboy. But Mark SD King, the new and improved version, not enough to get the KO there. Let's see if the ledge trap situation will work here in a moment. Puriflex gonna eat that down air. And Vicky, this is a different Mark SD King that we saw in this match.
Shutting down Puriflex, Mark SD has clawed his way back into the grand finals, and you know, the way that he's been able to display how just advantageous he's been and taking full just coursing through, like Mark SD right there, he recognized Puriflex going for the low recovery, and you know, it's a double-edged sword being Rob. You're a big guy, you have a large hurt box, and that down air being as large as it was, he was able to clip Puriflex right before he was able to get onto that ledge invisibility, and before Puriflex could see another day in the book, Mark SD was there to shut him down.
Trust me, I know all about being a large guy with a big hurt box here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the updated bracket after Mark SD King goes ahead and advances out of losers bracket. And yet again, another week that we see here, EE, that somebody from winner semifinal goes directly to the losers bracket and then takes the momentum. Mark SD King has not lost a game yet in the losers bracket and now gets a chance to take on Nestboy 12. Meanwhile, Nestboy 12 trying to dispatch of both Robs here, EE. And this is going to be an interesting matchup because it seems like Mark SD King wants to play aggressive and doesn't want to wait for Nestboy 12 to make some of those mistakes.
Well, it'll definitely be fun because this will be the first showdown between the two. So different style of Rob essentially coming in here for Nestboy to have to deal with. But, you know, it is Rob regardless. You're going to be confident that you're going to be able to secure grand finals in the first set. But honestly, if you look at the pattern that I'm seeing, Tipster 2-0, Kirflex 2-0, Mark SD King making a habit of collecting these 2-0 victories right now.
Yeah, and Vicky, going back to that last match, there is a point in that second game where Mark SD King is right around 120, 115%, is off the stage, and Kiraflex just couldn't close out the stock. And at that point, Mark SD King able to rack up 80% damage. And it seems like those moments in the games, you've got to get your KOs when you can get them, because if not, you leave the door open. And that's what happens in these games when both players are so talented.
Yeah, a lot of the times you saw Mark SD, every time he was off stage, he didn't try to go for a low recovery because he saw that he would be put into a bad state. Like you saw Kiraflex be more susceptible to getting hit with a down air. And you saw Mark SD utilize the high recovery that Rob could really use when it comes to using that fuel and going for more so high recoveries, going for an air dodge, and kind of sticking to utilizing the platforms to his advantage to mix up his own landings.
Don't forget, when we get done here with our Region 1 and 2 finals in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open May 2020, we've got a second set of action for you, the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. That action will take place after a short break when we get done with grand finals, so plenty of Nintendo competitive action to keep you busy on this Father's Day Sunday. And so, we're going to have Ness taking on Rob, most likely. I don't think we're going to see any Dark Pit selections or any surprises here.
Well, I hope not.
So for Ness, let's talk about them, because this is the person with the advantage coming in, Nessboy12, that only has to win one match to get this championship here. It seems like that aerial mobility, those disjointed hitboxes to catch Rob off guard up close and neutral are going to be key.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that. And yet again, we see we're going to Lilat to open things up. So honestly, familiar territory for both of these individuals having to start matches on this stage. I think Nessboy, though, he might be the one thinking, okay, I've done some improbable things on this stage thus far. Why not do it again, especially en route to capturing this championship?
And already, Vicky, as you said, it's a different type of Rob, a much more aggressive Rob. And Mark SD King doesn't want to just sit back and chuck out gyros and robo beams, wants to get up close and approach with some of those safe aerials. And already it's been a back and forth matchup here, but Ness has no problem operating up close if you're going to be aggressive.
And although Mark SD King has his hands warmed up right after that match with Kiraflex, you do have Nessboy, who has already played up this matchup and has already an expectation to what he could be fighting against here with Mark SD. Although playing a little bit more of an aggressive game compared to what we've seen from Kiraflex, Mark SD King, though, has to come back from the trek of having this large hurt box and continuously take advantage of keeping Nessboy off stage here.
Mark SD King trying to keep Nessboy off stage. Nessboy doing a great job of recovering. Gets that back throw and will go ahead and switch things around. And now, can they punish Mark SD King with the recovery? This is where you have to be careful here, as a big-bodied fighter trying to recover as Rob. You've got to make sure you get back on stage.
No doubt about it. You saw him trying to use the aggressive approach there with the up air, but it was really smart of Nessboy to just hold that shield and then daring himself, just going down there. And that cut right there just kind of shows me he's willing to commit to a lot of off-stage options, which I think will help him quite a bit, especially when it comes to securing those KOs. But the first one going to Mark SD King, not shying away from the challenge.
And the engines continue to stay warmed up for Mark SD King, looking for that opportunity to recover. You know that yo-yo is so dangerous on the edge of the map. And Nessboy12 trying to really take this first stock to make sure to even things up, but it's all Mark SD King using the gyro here, Victory, to help aid in the recovery.
I have to point out just the way that Mark SD King has been playing and moving, especially coming back to the ledge. Although, you know, Nessboy finding that sneaky up air in to close out that stock, Mark SD was able to live for so long, and the way that he was able to get back to the stage really shows the confidence that Mark SD King has now facing off against Nessboy. And despite the aggression that we were talking about earlier, you see that he is willing to wait and be patient in those moments to try to take out the stock when it does present itself.
And that's how a game can change. You take the lead like Mark SD King has, you now put the pressure on Nessboy to approach, and if you're Rob, you have no problem playing that defensive zoning game.
Not at all. He's showing you kind of a master class of how to play this stage. Lilat at the moment just really utilizing those platforms to really just help with his evasion. And at the same time, you're baiting Nessboy to come in, and he's going to make those mistakes, and those mistakes are going to start leading to damage. It's going to add up slowly but surely. It's really fueling Mark to get this first game.
Yeah, Mark SD King just taking just 10% on the second stock. So the defensive mindset, the defensive game plan, the change up here, Vicky, you love to see the different play styles coming out from Mark SD King.
Absolutely. You can see him running away with this lead and narrowly avoiding Nestboy. And when you are hanging out above those platforms, that's when you are more susceptible to getting anti-aired by Nestboy. And Mark SD has no problem with that. Just seeing the way that he's consistently kept Nestboy off stage, getting that down air, perfect timing on it, but not getting the spike and managing to go around the ledge. Nestboy utilizing the hitbox to try to knock Mark SD out of the stage. And the thing is that Mark SD hasn't taken that much percent here, so that wasn't really able to do much, and Nestboy still has a little bit of a stock to trek from.
Nestboy doing a fine job of hanging on with this second stock, so it might not be that much of an advantage if Mark SD King goes ahead and races off to a lead here. Nestboy trying to recover. Mark SD King trying to throw out, and there's the down throw that leads to the KO here. And now Mark SD King in that situation here, EE, where you want to find that separation in this game.
Yep, no doubt about it. I love what he did there, running up and just getting that grab, though. You got to call the fact that Nestboy was going to pick a defensive option, just considering how high his percent was. So that was a good opportunity for Mark to strike, because I'll tell you what, if a couple more seconds, it could have gone the other way. And now Mark seeing the opening, starting to present itself, 29% being tacked on. This is a really good opportunity for him to not let Nestboy recapture any kind of momentum.
And you really have to be careful how you recover back on the stage and fall back down the stage here, Vicky, because Nestboy's so capable in the air. And Rob, as we mentioned, that big target, you've got to be able to find some safe real estate to land on.
You can see right here trying to struggle to get back, but managing to use that get up attack and the invincibility on it to hit Nestboy away. And you see the constant yo-yo being put out by Nestboy, as it is a constant hitbox and it could linger below the stage. And you already saw from Mark SD taking full advantage against Kiraflex, using the down air and kind of the hurtbox that Rob has to kind of clip him below, and Nestboy having to use the Lilac platform. And remember what I was talking about, how it could be a little tricky for Nest to try to recover on a stage like this just because of that lip. And unfortunately, we saw that into play right there with Nestboy unable to really use the angle that he needed to get back to the ledge.
Absolutely correct, Vicky, and I'm sure if you're Nestboy, you're fine not seeing Lilac for the rest of this tournament here.
Probably, yeah.
And EE, Mark SD King, showing us why Rob is such a well-rounded character. You can play aggressive, you can play defensive, you can box up close, you can also zone out. We saw it all on display in that first game.
Yeah, again, you couldn't ask for a better opening stage if you're Mark SD King, right? I mean, obviously, Ness is going to have his struggles both on and off the stage, as Vicky alluded to. And the fact that Mark is just playing, firing on all cylinders isn't doing himself any favor. So, honestly, we have a really legitimate chance to see a potential reset in our grand finals.
And Nestboy 12 happy with the stage selection here. I can imagine getting a chance to get back from outer space and land back on Earth here. Let's see what Nestboy 12 can do with a different set to play on here. Now it's Mark SD King. Let's see if that aggression can pay off. A much larger stage here, Vicky. How does that impact things here?
Well, Mark SD now is going to have a lot more space to utilize his projectiles, but now with those platforms that you have off the side, Nestboy is going to be able to really take advantage of these PK fires against Mark SD, and also taking the platforms to his advantage to follow up with these anti-airs. You see him using the fair to try to clip Mark SD from getting back, and we saw earlier that Mark SD does like to go for those high recoveries, rather go in aggressively rather than just go for below the ledge platform and kind of go in for the invincibility that ledge has to provide. And you see Mark SD bringing it back, trying to go for the falls with the gyro and getting a little too hasty, trying to go for the follow-up that Nestboy wasn't able to get hit from the gyro from.
Down throw, followed into the up air once again. EE, such an effective tool for Mark SD King, but Nestboy trying to retaliate quickly. And yes, that's what you got to do here, EE. Get that quick KO to even things up.
You want to talk about effective tools, look no further than Ness's aerials, okay? You saw the combination of back air, forward air, and now some up airs really stringing together an opportunity for Nestboy, who is not at all trying to let Mark SD King. You don't want to let him feel himself too much, right? Because that's going to be one of those situations where, again, momentum is just so huge, it impacts everything that's going on. I think Nestboy is well aware of that, getting a much better stage for him in this second game, and you're seeing it pay off.
And Vicky, that's what it really comes down to so far. That change in stage, that change in scenery can just be so refreshing for mind, body, and soul for Nestboy. And this just gives Nestboy so much more room to operate with those PK fires and those aerial approaches leading to those combos.
Yeah, I mean, on Lilac, you do have those platforms to allow Mark SD to try to mix up where he was going to land when he goes for those high recoveries, but now it's kind of a different story where he sees Nestboy here by the ledge, charging up that yo-yo and having to hit him away so that way he doesn't get hit with the constant moves that are that are active, and managing to find his way back to the stage. Nestboy utilizing those nest aerials that EE was talking about that could be so lethal in allowing Rob to get back, especially as large of a character as he is.
Mark SD King one game away from resetting the bracket here in Grand Finals. Nestboy 12 wants to go ahead and try and even things up here. And so far in the second stock, both fighters trading things back and forth. It's now Mark SD King with that advantage on the map, trying to eat the recovery. And EE, it's got you jumping out of your chair when you see the down air come out.
Bro, welcome to the Last Dance Smash Brothers edition, okay? That's all I saw right there. Young MJ just took flight and took it down. That's nasty.
Mark SD King, 2-1 stock advantage, and this is what we saw against Kiraflex in that losers final here. The ability to hang on tight and stay alive, not going to be the case here as Nestboy puts themselves in position here, Vicky, to try and steal this game.
Yeah, you had the timing downloaded for Mark SD, kind of hitting Nestboy away with that downer like it was a ping pong ball, but now retaliating back and using these platforms as a way to stand on these spheres up high on the ground here. Nestboy now waiting it out for Mark SD, and you see the patience too, trying to clip him before he was able to land on that platform, but kind of mistiming it a bit, and now the roles have been reversed where Mark SD is keeping Nestboy on his toes, and with the last stock situation, Jordan, this is pretty even.
It is really even and very exciting. Mark SD King, can they reset the bracket here with a KO, or will Nestboy put the pressure on Mark SD King heading into a third game in Grand Finals? Mark SD King trying to play a little bit more defensive right now. We saw the aggression come out with the PK Thunder. EE, it's been a while since we saw it in this tournament, but you can't mess with it.
It's always there when you need it, okay? Old reliable, okay? It's like that old Chevy you got in the backyard, okay? You gotta give a couple turns, but when it pops up and it starts moving, boy, I tell you, it makes all the difference in the world. Good stuff to force this game 3.
Nestboy 12, a different stage, able to utilize the PK Thunder to go ahead and get that final KO, and now we are in a Game 3 in Grand Finals. A win by Mark SD King resets the bracket, but Vicky, a win by Nestboy here. And obviously Stage playing a huge role, will claim the championship for Regions 1 and 2 for Nestboy.
Yeah, you highlighted, Jordan. The stage is going to be super important depending on where these fighters are going to be going to, and kicking it off with potentially the last game if Nestboy could try to take it forward, Yoshi's Island. And this is going to be one of those stages where Nestboy's going to be able to try to follow up and try to clip Mark before he gets to land safely on that platform, utilizing these up airs. But we saw already from Mark SD how large that down air is, and he is going to be able to try to contest Nestboy if he does time it properly, as that hitbox is rather large.
And early on, Mark SD King, being the aggressor, going to go ahead and chuck out a gyro at Nest. That's one type of toy Nest doesn't want to play with right there. Mark SD King just hanging out down below. Nestboy trying to find those opportunities, connects with the falling aerial. But right now, EE, both fighters just exchanging blows and sort of getting a feel for each other in this third and final game so far.
Yeah, it feels like those exchanges and those opportunities sometimes for Nestboy can be few and far between. Especially, I do like this platform and layout. Really, especially for Rob, just the fact he's able to kind of play the plat. You see him up there on top. He's kind of saying, "Okay, Nestboy, what are you going to do about this? How are you going to get me off there? I'm kind of controlling the space right now, and I'm putting it on you to make the challenge."
And Vicky, we're seeing that Mark SD King sitting above Nestboy, sort of shielding and baiting Nestboy to try and approach, and then trying to punish any aerials that Nestboy might throw out. But right now it's Nestboy, ledge trap situation, but the gyro going to disrupt things. Nestboy, though, following up. Gyro dropping down, returning the favor here, Vicky.
And Marcus D just struggling to get back, and being able to tech on the side of the stage right there is super lethal, but you can't tech once you're in the middle right here, and Marcus D losing that first stock, but maybe not too far away of a length here, length distance here, as, you know, Nestboy getting that PK fire, kind of extending onto this lead that he's built up for himself. But, you know, the gyro hanging out by the ledge of the stage in particular could be a little bit tricky to avoid, and that back air, as big as it was, we're talking about Rob's down air being rather large, and, you know, those nairs also being able to cover the platform is really going to help out Mark SD.
PK Thunder trying to track down Mark SD, able to connect. Nestboy trying to close out this second stock here. Gyro coming off as Mark SD King, looking to recover. Robo Beam shielded. Nestboy, once again, EE does such a good job on the ledge with that yo-yo. If you're Mark SD King, you gotta avoid landing on the ledge, it seems like.
Absolutely, and you know, it can be a little difficult. Luckily, you do have a lot of fuel to enable yourself to take a couple different routes if you don't feel like that ledge is necessarily safe. However, it seems like Mark has really just not been shying away from it, taking the challenge. You see a lot of times he'll be aggressive with those up airs, trying to force his way back, and a couple of situations have gone the way of Nestboy, and this could be another one. Home run out the park, and just one inning away, or should I say stock perhaps, of winning this tournament.
Jab lock leading to the forward smash, and now it's Nestboy has Mark SD King on the ropes, bottom of the ninth here. Can Mark SD King pull back the comeback? That Robo Beam's gonna help, but it's not enough for the KO. A couple more gyros getting chucked down. Nestboy 12, that's a key KO, Vicky, because Nestboy 12 only able to get 9% on that final stock from Mark SD King.
Yeah, you could see the slowdown in pacing from Mark SD. You know, the more respect has come out from Mark, where he's been able to recognize, you know, Nestboy has been able to try to follow up from what control I thought I had on this top platform. And now Mark SD being able to try to even things out here and still find himself back in the game. Nestboy keeping him off stage and having to utilize that beam so that way he can at least try to get back safely, and could be a little tricky now that the gyro has fallen off the stage.
Mark SD King having to eat a lot of damage here. It's Nestboy in control in this final stock. One more stock and Nestboy 12 is your champion. Mark SD King can reset the bracket if they can go ahead and bounce back and steal this stock. But it's Nestboy 12 utilizing those aerials in the middle of the stage here. The yo-yo on the edge. Not able to time it up right here, EE.
That get-up attack was everything, okay? Because that could have very well sealed the deal, but still it is Nestboy who is in firm command at the moment, and this is scary for Mark SD King. Just trying to land, finds a little bit of salvation on that top platform, but a forward air again. It's the pressure from Nestboy. He is firing on all cylinders.
Nestboy just needs to get one opportunity, one opening, and that'll do it. Nestboy 12 taking the final two games to win grand finals, and is your champion for regions 1 and 2 in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Online Open, May 2020. And Vicky, what adjustments did you see from Nestboy 12 after that first game to go ahead and battle back, take the last two, and claim our championship?
He just did not let go off of Mark SD. He was just taking full advantage of the fact that Ness's aerials are rather large themselves, and utilizing the fact that, you know, Rob has these large hurt boxes. He just continuously held forward, and just being able to work around the gyro really helped him out, because he recognized that the PK fire wasn't really working out for him. He could really only use him as an aerial PK fire, and even the stage kind of clipped it for him. But just taking full advantage and noticing that Mark SD was playing with a lot more respect, he kind of held forward on that, and the momentum being on his side allowed him to take the whole thing at the end.
Valiant effort by Mark SD King to battle all the way through the losers bracket to get to grand finals. Almost reset the bracket, one stock away from doing so. But EE, it was really Nestboy just getting a stage that works with you. Sometimes you just got to get to home court and get a chance to hold that down. We saw that from Nestboy 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's a lot of factors you can list, but not being on Lilac is the biggest one for me. Okay, my man was like, I can recover. Okay, I can have a chance back at the stage. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was all the difference in the world, because you're thinking, okay, even if I do happen to give up stage control, I know I'm gonna have an opportunity to come back, and I have to have all this pressure on me not to get stuck under Lilac, which can be a little wonky at times.
Congratulations to Nestboy 12, and a big thank you once again to Curiflax Tipster, and of course Mark SD King for being a part of our top 4. Nestboy 12 will get a digital download code for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2, Splatoon 2, and ARMS games as well too. And that'll do it for Regions 1 and 2. A big thank you to our production crew, and also great job to Vicky, Kitty, and EE. So great to see you guys. But stick around. After a short break, when we come back, we'll have the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. We'll have Nine and Ashley Esqueda join us as we get the splatting underway. We'll see you here in a moment. Well, good afternoon and welcome into the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. We just got done getting a chance to check out the North American Online Open May 2020 for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is the second half of our doubleheader, and welcome in. I'm your spray by spray host, Jordan Kent, and joining me, two of the finest Splatalists. Let's start with our first one. People call her the third squid sister. It's Ashley Esqueda. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, things are good. Things are good. Just writing new songs for those albums. I'm the unspoken squid sister that no one talks about, but I write all the songs. It's very important work.
And he goes by 9, but he's a 10 in my book. 9, you excited for the action that we have here today?
I see you're just setting me up so that you can break me down later. Yes, Jordan, I am very excited. Like you said, some of the biggest turnout we've had, down to just 4 teams, and I know that they're going to put on a great show for us today.
Well, as you mentioned, these are the top 4 teams here, 9, out of 725 entries. And if you look at the past tournaments that we've had before, one of the largest accumulations of teams that signed up. And so these truly are 4 of the best teams here, and they'll be fighting for a lot today, splatting for a lot today. The winning team, each member will get a digital download for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, ARMS, and of course, Mario Tennis Aces. But there's more to it than just that, Ashley.
Oh yeah, of course. They'll also earn my undying respect.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this bracket and check out the teams that we are watching take action today as we get set for the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. 3.5 Ws, Booyah, FT Win, and Hanren. And what can you say about some of these teams here, 9?
Well, take a look there at the bottom, and you can see FT Win. You cannot talk about the history of North American Championship Splatoon and not talk about FT Win because, well, quite frankly, they've won everything. Since their induction, they have won every major tournament that they have entered, that Nintendo has hosted here, up against Hanron, which is a very old school team, right? They come from Splatoon 1. They got back together for this event. They're a very aggressive team, and I know that people are going to love to watch them go at it with some of the best that we have in the world.
Let's chat about some of the rules here. It will be single elimination. Best of 5 games wins a match. All of these games will be ranked mode, but don't forget the grand finals will be best of 7. In the semifinals, you'll see game 1, Rainmaker, game 2, Tower Control, game 3, Splat Zones, and if game 4 and 5 are necessary, more Tower Control and Rainmaker. You see the maps as well, too. We'll break those down as we land on those maps. But Ashley, when you look at ranked modes, it seems like communication is something that always seems to stand out when we look at these high-level teams.
Always, always. Communication is key. And these teams, especially in modes like Rainmaker and Tower Control, they're going to have to talk to each other to make sure that the flanks are protected. They're going to have to talk to each other to make sure they know exactly what the plan of action is, because things can change in a second in any given game.
And 9, we've been playing a lot of ranked mode, and you, let's be honest, have been carrying me around in the baby pouch as we continue to get some victories here. But coordination is something that is so important at this level, and the coordination happens in many facets of the game.
It really does. And the great saying that we love to go by is good players win their 1v1s, great players win their 2v1s, because you really shouldn't be going out and attacking somebody by yourself. There are so many ways to work up and to move up together, and we are going to see a lot of ink armor in today's matches. If you get in a 1v1 with ink armor, that's no good. You've got to wait until someone there's with you.
And Ashley, when you look down at the core components of this game, yes, getting those splats is important, but you can also help out your team just with territory control. Just ink the ground and give your team the option to cover a lot of the map. That is still one of the foundational strategies of Splatoon 2.
Yeah, always. It's if your ink is on the ground, you're slowing down your opponents. You're exposing your opponents, making it easier to win those 1v1s, those 2v1s like 9 was talking about. I mean, that is a real key to victory in every single mode. It doesn't matter which one you're playing.
And 9, we've talked about how this meta has evolved similar to a cephalopod growing some legs here throughout the years. You now look at where it stands right now. What are you seeing from high-level players and high-level teams?
Well, like I mentioned, you're going to see ink armor, and you are going to see lots of it. Many of these teams here are very confident in their ability to be mechanically sound, to go up, hit the shots they need to, and move around. Ink armor really, really contributes to that. On top of that, though, I've heard that some of these teams have something a little interesting cooked up. So honestly, I'm not as sure as I probably should be.
And Ashley, we were chatting with Nine about coordination and those specials. You'll see them pop up and start to flash at the top of the screen throughout the match here. You have to be coordinated in when you use those specials because we're going to hear the term making a push quite a bit. And that's when you really try to stack those specials.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between, you know, one special and three back to back to back, maybe an ink armor, and you've got all these ink storm, you've got all these different things that can again slow down your opponents, really make it easy to clear out the other team and just go go go. A lot of these ranked modes have goals, and so you have to get to a specific place. So this is definitely we're going to see a lot of really good special coordination today.
And Nine, the loadouts are so important, and you'll be calling these out as we start each game here. Teams have a balanced attack, and sometimes they might have a little bit of an emphasis in one particular area, but they have thoughtfully designed some of these loadouts here. And we're going to get set for Rainmaker on Manta Maria, and this will be a big time matchup here as we take a look at these two teams. We've got Booyah, of course, facing off against DJ, Zero, Rhea, and Ice of 3.5 Ws. And early on, Nine, what are you making of these loadouts here?
Well, you take a look here. We've got two Chargers, and actually Bean and Ice here on opposing sides are the only two true backliners that are in this event today. We talk so much about backline being the stabilizing force, but Bean on the Bamboozler is going to be just a little bit more mobile, and it's going to allow them to control more space.
Let's check out Impact right now. Just going ahead and covering a little bit of turf with that inking. You see the ability of that Baller when that special gets rolling here. Impact trying to throw some of those torpedoes, and here comes the Baller ready to go. And right now, neither team here, Ashley, taking main advantage. That Rainmaker still sitting there. Teams hesitant to claim that until you get a bit of an advantage on the map.
Yeah, I think you want to make sure. So you can see there's two splats right here, and then you're always going to jump back. You don't want to get splatted. You want to make sure you have that team together for that coordinated effort. So if you lose a couple of teammates, you're going to head back to base, but oof, ouch. It does look like Zero is doing a great job. Look at that. A team wipe.
And Nine, that was very quick, and you see what happens when you get up 3-1 in Rainmaker.
I blinked and it ended there. That was fantastic. We were talking so much about being patient and waiting for your opportunity to push, waiting until two go down, taking it on that far right side, and then staggering the attack right there. Look at that. Only one pick there on the bottom. That means only one person got splatted there for 3.5 dubs. That's about as clean as you can get at this level.
Yeah, and Ashley, it still helps to stay alive and stay on the map here at this point, because when you do that, you're covering more territory. But we saw that back and forth for a little bit, and 3.5s really just waiting for that opportunity to have the advantage on the map. And when they did, it really didn't take much work. We were watching that point of view from Impact, and when your last backline person eats a splat bomb like that, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's a big ouch, and that's the ouch spam, right? And that's you always got to be ready for that. And yeah, there's a moment where you're kind of both feeling each other out, right? So there's that moment where you feel each other out, you kind of see what the other team's about, see what the loadouts are, and then you got to react. And the thing is who blinks first, right? So in this case, it wasn't quite their day.
And that can happen in Rainmaker so quickly, Nine, is one team just gets the advantage. And if you have already lost the ability to control the map, you can see how quickly you can go for that dunk right there. If you're looking at Booyah, what adjustments do you need to think about outside of, well, probably helps if we get more than one splat next game?
It does, but I think that, like you said, that's part of the nature of the beast with Rainmaker, right? One mistake can really punish you hard, and you saw that on that first push, they dropped it down into what we call the pit area on Manta Maria. At that point, you flip a coin, right? If someone goes down to a bomb like there, the game is basically over, but they're going to be moving into some more measured maps and modes now, and I think they're going to have a great opportunity to counterattack.
Yeah, and Ashley, it seems like in every single map, there is sort of that sweet spot that if you can get the objective to that area, you're really going to take control. And whether that push comes at the beginning or at the end, you have to make sure that you do not concede that important part of the map.
Yeah, there's always that sort of battle point right before you kind of get to the end. And if you can control that point, and we saw that obviously 3.5 Ws, like just really going out there and pushing fast. But yeah, it's you gotta take those pain points and you gotta win them.
Well, let's get to game 2, and let's see if this one will be a tad bit longer here. 3.5 W's, claiming that first one very quickly. Booyah trying to bounce back, and already we're at Ink Blot, Art Academy, and Splat zones here. 2 zones, 9. You got to keep that in mind.
Well, actually, if I'm seeing it right, I think it's tower control here. And Jordan, to that point, I think we've seen a few good matches here on this specific map and mode in World Championship format. I'm trying to remember STDX versus Backsquid, I believe.
And you're absolutely right. The tower control here, we've seen those splat zones before that we've enjoyed in the past, but the tower control, as we mentioned, already in control. Booyah hopping on it first right now. And speaking of which, here comes that Booyah bomb. And it's so important here, Ashley, to get you these checkpoints and to hold things down.
Yeah, and the one thing about Splatoon 2 is you have to hold these checkpoints for 10 seconds. You have to actually stay still, which is very difficult in Splatoon. You want to always be moving in Splatoon. It's that one time where you have to kind of keep the tower still, but, survive. So it can be a really tough thing to hold those checkpoints, but it looks like they're doing a really good job of it.
So far, Booyah with the early advantage, but Impact once again getting splatted, and now it's a 4-2 advantage on the map with the special ready to go here, 9.
It is an ice right there on the Chargers, what really saved them. You saw what looked like a pretty good opening push. They had solid control of that left elbow area, but one shot from the Charger can completely change it. Now Zero is pushed up here using one of his tried and true weapons here, the Kenta Splattershot Pro. He's pushing in as fast as he can. They sense blood in the water.
And you see already Zero getting a critical splat, and they continue to have the squid advantage on the map, now pushing towards checkpoint number 2. And Ashley, this is when you want to continue to push forward and keep Booyah back at their spawn point so that you can apply the consistent pressure.
Yeah, they're definitely doing a really great job of keeping Booyah away from those flank points. You can see right here, Ice absolutely crushing it with the sting, and they are now past checkpoint 3. So this is the last leg. That's all they have to do. But it's back and forth.
And 9, it's really hard to close things out in tower control Inkblot Art Academy right here because that spawn is so close to the goal, and it's not over yet, but you're facing a difficult hill to climb if you're trying to recover. If you are Booyah, how do you try to turn the momentum in this match if you are Booyah? You're trying to get that yellow ink on the map.
Well, it all starts with making sure that you have mid control, and you can say a lot about mid control and also say a little about it, but what it boils down to is as long as you have some semblance of footing to start your push, to build your specials, that's what it all starts with. And you can see now, already 2 down. I believe Ice got at least one of them. They're not going to get any control, and it's actually a push coming the other way.
And Ice doing such a good job of being that backliner, holding things down, lock the doors and set the security system to make sure that you've got some protection here. And here comes that reverse push, as we mentioned, by 3.5 W's. When you're able to get back on the tower here, Ashley, you no longer have to navigate those checkpoints. You got that fast pass, as we like to say, to push the tower back.
Yeah, you definitely, that comes in very handy if the tower has rolled back a little bit. I mean, I think that's a thing that you always have to keep in mind, like, okay, hey, we've already gotten past this one, so we just go, go, go. And sometimes those coordinated special pushes can really make the difference on that last, let's say, that last leg.
We see right here, Ice still holding things down on the tower. And 9, when you're trying to secure the tower and have your teammates push forward, what do your teammates need to keep in mind when you're essentially kind of down a player because they have to be on the tower?
At that point, you really just want to make sure that you're positioned properly. As long as you have somebody on the tower, you know that the opponent is going to have to come to you. So try to set yourselves up to where you think they're going to come from and use that as your advantage. Use the fact that the opponents have to come to you.
And we see RR Mo right now trying to hold things down. Throws a suction bomb, trying to negate anybody approaching right now. Booyah on their heels, as we mentioned before. That tower continues to come, and they cannot just swing the tide of momentum. DJ trying to fight back. Zero now moving along on the baseline here, trying to get up to the second level. Zero trying to sneak and flank. Has an opportunity to get behind Booyah, and does. And that's enough right there. That 1v1 trade, 9, creates the advantage for 3.5 dubs.
Yeah, I believe that was 3 down right there. Now poor Impact has to come all the way back here. And you saw 3 people just rush, taking that out, making sure that they have solid control of this area. Right here, Rhea, aka Tic Tac, is just going to sit by tower and try to hold this spot. He knows that as long as he is standing right here, no one's getting on that tower.
And Ashley, Ink Armor coming out, and this is when highly skilled teams can really use that to their advantage to get that squid advantage on the map, as we mentioned before, but nicely done by Booyah here, Ashley, to sort of take that ink armor approach. And now, well, as soon as I say that, they go down 4-1.
Yeah, that's tough. Ouch. The Stingray, I mean, it's so difficult when you have ink armor, Stingray, and there it is.
And already 3.5 dubs getting a second victory here, and now really putting the pressure on Booyah at this point. And really just that initial push here, 9, when they got the tower to get it down to 12. Once you put it there, you really force the other team to play a much more offensive-minded game. You can sort of shift the focus to defense, and it's hard to turn that momentum when teams have already put that kind of pressure on you.
It really is. Playing with a lead changes everything. That strategy you saw there with Rhea just sitting by the tower, throwing a bomb on the tower, making sure that around the tower was inked, that's a strategy that you have. It is a privilege of having the lead because, again, as we've said, the opponent has to come to the tower and they have to go through you to get there.
So already 3.5 dubs up 2-0 on the games. Up next, we will have, of course, our Splat Zones on Starfish main stage. We finally get to those Splat Zones I'm excited for here, 9. But Ashley, as we shift the focus to Splat Zones, it changes the strategy here a little bit because we've talked about how important it is to get that first initial control of the zone in Splat Zones.
Yeah, so 9 was just saying with tower control, when you're in the lead, when you have the tower, your opponents have to come to you. And in Splat Zones, it is an entirely different scenario where you have these fixed locations. Your opponents and you are going to the same place. There's constant 1v1s, 2v1s. There's just these really great battles that we see in Splat Zones.
And going back to those Splat Zones here, 9, we've talked about it where, yes, you want to be able to claim it. But then once you have the zone, what is the team's focus at that point to make sure that you can hang on to it?
You never want to let the opponent build up their specials because anybody can build up 4 specials on their team, throw them all at the zone, flip the zone, and stop your timer. So what you're really going to see here is that these players are going to be moving up and putting the pressure on their opponent, even in what is considered a more stationary mode.
Splat Zones and Starfish main stage. And Ashley, we see one zone and it's on the main stage, and that is clearly where you want to control things. But then you do have to push beyond that once you control it. You can't just get the zone, kick back, relax, and have a sip of lemonade and expect to get this victory here.
I mean, I wish it was that easy. That would be really nice, right? But you can see already we're seeing, these teams are able to build specials so quickly. And in that last tower control game, you've got 3.5 W's able to build up those ink armors so incredibly quick. But look at Booyah taking that Splat Zone first.
Booyah on the yellow, 3.5 W's in the purple or blue, however you want to see it. And now it's Booyah taking the early advantage here, 9. And now what do they have to do against 3.5 W's and make sure they can try and steal the game here?
Well, we set it up to where, again, they do have to push forward. But I think that Bean, who we're on right here, this is going to be a moment for her to really show her stuff and gets taken down by some Tenta missiles. You saw right there, she had her bomb rush out, and the charger also was going to be the weapon that could force people back. But again, we see it so often. One rogue bomb can completely change the dynamic of a push.
Yep, and a slow-moving ink storm helped 3.5 W's claim the zone, but now the Booyah has it, and they've got a little bit of a penalty to deal with here, Ashley. And here comes the ink arm. And you mentioned before, Ashley, you just have to stack those specials. It's so critical, especially in Splat Zones, to regain that momentum.
Yeah, communication is key here because you all want to make sure you're coordinating in a way that is not wasting a special, right? So if you've got a couple of ink armors, you don't want to use them at the same time. You might say, okay, let's use one, let's use 2 back to back. Or you might say, let's just save one, let's hold on to it. You can see Ice back there, just waiting, just holding on to that special.
We saw DJ land into the action, ready to play another track here. And now 3.5 W's has taken control here, 9. And we saw that their ability to get the squid advantage on the map. But here comes that onslaught of specials, as we've talked about before.
And they've held through it all here. The baller's going to be the last one, and it will be just enough. But I want to note again, that took all of their specials to get the zone. They're going to need to take a couple people out here as well, because look at that. They went 3 down with all those specials. They're going to lose the zone very quickly here. And again, it just doesn't seem like they're able to find their footing so far in this set.
Booyah, even with a loaded resume, can't get the job done. So now it is all 3.5 W's looking to close things out here, trying to eat away at that penalty. Let's see if they can push forward now. Booyah They're down to just one special, 3.5 Ws, all 4 players on the map ready to go. Tenta missiles being unleashed, but if you're seeing it now, actually, Booyah's getting pushed back. They can't approach the zone safely quite yet as that timer continues to tick.
That timer is ticking down. It's getting very dangerous in there. Here comes the ball. Let's see if they can take it back. Okay, so took it back, but unfortunately, Impact was a victim of the take back.
And sometimes, Nine, that's all you need to do is just to stop the hurting right there, create that penalty, and buy yourself some precious seconds to see if you can regain and build up some special. And it seems like Booyah starting to stabilize a little bit here.
Stabilize is exactly it. And you saw how quickly they went and pursued Rhea there. So often, Rhea has been sitting behind the zone and continuing to just put some ink on it there, at least keep it neutralized and allow the rest of the team to come back. But that penalty is gone now, and that's going to tick away very quickly if they can continue to hold.
And now Booyah has a chance to get a comeback, just 20 seconds away, but 3.5 Ws. They've got some specials ready to roll. They go ahead and seize momentum, and they regain it of the zone. And now, Ashley, if you are Booyah, you can't keep getting pushed back because the overall timer is now your enemy.
Yeah, and also they just used 2 specials. So this is really where it counts, right? So we've got very short amount of time left. RR gets splat on 0. That's great. So let's see if they can actually convert a couple of specials. You can see there's a couple of them coming up here that they might be able to convert and get that point and add some more time.
But Nine, there's a lot of purple in mid right now, and things are not looking good for Booyah. 3.5 Dubs, just 11 seconds away from advancing to grand finals, but Booyah still trying to hold on and force some overtime. They've got a baller and a 4-2 advantage on the map right now, Nine.
Credit their resiliency, but they've also got Zero back behind them there. They have to deal with that, and Zero jumps out. All that time spent looking back there might mean that some of the other members got to move up without a whole lot of opposition. This is going to be big. There's really only one more opportunity they have to convert this.
And 3.5 Ws trying to consolidate these specials, make one more final push. All they have to do is regain control of the zone. But 10 seconds away for Booyah. Ashley, they just have to hold on. Is that going to be enough? And Booyah just 1 second away, Ashley. And that's how close it is. But now you've got to deal with a 40-second penalty here, Ashley. And that's a lot to deal with if you're
both of them. Have this 41-second penalty. I mean, it is really, man, the back and forth there. Yikes.
And 9, you see how close it can get in Splatoon. 1 second away for Booyah from taking this game. But 3.5 Ws, they do enough at the end, and they advance on a 3-0 sweep to grand finals.
Fantastic play there at the end, and really credit Booyah for finding their footing in that last game. And Ashley, you said something at the top of the show that I want to highlight. You talked about watching your flanks. Right there at the very end, DJ on that tri-slosher came around the left flank, and that really was the last-ditch effort right there, attacking from that side. If it doesn't work, we lose, but it's our only chance. It did work, and at the end, you saw Zero come around from the other flank, and that's what it looks like when teams are coordinated in all facets of the map.
Yeah, it's just so fun to watch teams like this play.
Yeah, so 3.5 Ws getting the 3-0 sweep. Let's see if we have that updated bracket right now to show you who will advance to grand finals, because up next we're going to have FT win against Hanrin. And you look at both of these teams here, 9, and one has been very dominant and one has been old school, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at Hanron and they remember what they were capable of back in Splatoon 1. This is a run-and-gun style team. They might not even bring a charger or a splatling or anything. They are confident in their ability to outplay you on a mechanical side. And yeah, aggressive is the name of the word with this team.
And with aggressive teams, Ashley, it's sort of live and not live by it, because you have a chance to really cover a ton of territory and put that pressure on the opposing team because you have so much ink on the map. But you can also get zoned out if you choose to not go with the charger. And so that loadout decision seems like it'll be critical for Hanron if they really want to try and pull the upset against FT Win.
I'm really curious what FT Win rolls out with against Hanron here, because like you said, if it is a risk, it is high, running the way Hanron does is high risk, high reward. They can win very quickly with their loadout. But if they get locked out, or if they're not able to control a zone from far away, if they don't have range, it can become really problematic for them very, very fast.
In 9, we've talked about the shifting meta and how at one point it was very, very aggressive, and you want to make sure they use a lot of those shooters and cover a ton of territory. And other times it has shifted. And so you look at an aggressive play style if you're Hanron. If you're going to play that way, what do you have to do well to be effective against a team that's going to have a balanced loadout with that charger, with that flex player, and so on and so forth?
You've got to be sharp, right? Every rotation that you make, when your teammate says, I've got one near me, you have to get there now. Your weapons are made to do that. That means that the player has to utilize the tool that they have. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have to be mechanically sound. If there are shots to be hit, you got to hit them.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break, but when we come back, we'll go ahead and bring you FT Win versus Hanron as we continue on the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open, June 2020. Welcome back to the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open, June 2020. Jordan Kent, along with my friends Ashley Esqueda and Nine. And as we get set to crown a champion here today, what's at stake? Well, a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, ARMS, and Mario Tennis Aces. And Nine, we just saw the first half of our semifinal action take place where 3.5 dubs advanced on a 3-0 sweep. Now, the second half of our bracket, FT Win, the royalty in North America when it comes to competitive Splatoon. They do have a new face that you wanted to point out, though.
They do. Biscuit is going to be playing the Nautilus Splatling, and it's a very unique weapon. But Biscuit is a very talented player, has come from a couple of other top North American teams playing with them now. Don't expect a whole lot of drop-off because FT Win is used to using a Nautilus in their typical comps.
And Ashley, once again, Hanron, one of those old school Splatoon 1, if you rewind the clock all the way back to 2015, a team that is going to be very run and gun style and aggressive. And we mentioned if you're going to be that way, you have to really make sure you communicate and cover the spots that your teammates ask you to go cover.
Yeah, and winning those 1v1s is more important than ever. If you're running an aggressive comp, it becomes incredibly key to win your 1v1s, to win 2v1s. So they have to be feeling pretty confident to run with a setup like this.
And now I'm curious, if you're FT Win and you're implementing a new player like Biscuit, what do you have to do? It seems like you spend a lot of hours just trying to build chemistry. Is that something that is a fact of these Splatoon 2 teams, that they just sort of have this rhythm and sort of develop this relationship over time?
It is, and make no mistake, these players have gobs and gobs and gobs and hours. We won't talk about how many Kyo, the star player for FT Win, has in this game, but
It's a lot.
it's a lot. You play the game enough, and you start to understand how the game is meant to be played. And Biscuit is one of those players. I think they probably went with a little chat about what the general strategies were, but it's a Nautilus, and the Nautilus is going to play the same way no matter what team it's with.
Let's take a look at the bracket here as we get set for more semifinal action here. As we mentioned, FT Win taking on Hanran. The winner will advance to face 3.5 dubs in grand finals. The rules, once again, as we go through our different ranked modes, our first game will be Rainmaker on Manta Maria, then Tower Control on Inkblot Art Academy, Splat Zones on Starfish main stage, and then, if necessary, Tower Control, Piranha Pit, and Rainmaker on the Reef. So our teams are getting set to get rolling here. And going back to Rainmaker, Ashley, when we saw 3.5 dubs take on Booyah, it was about a 45-second match here.
Yeah.
You really have to make sure on Rainmaker mode that you have some squids on the field, because if you get wiped, really good teams can make you pay very quickly.
Especially on this map, because it is a smaller map, it is a tighter map. And so if your team gets wiped, that is a lot of ground that your opponent can cover in a very quick amount of time. And especially for a team like Hanran, if you're aggressive, you've already got people well beyond the Rainmaker moving right toward enemy territory, ready to clean up.
Now, Nine, I'm going to try and do my best to remember my nautical terms here. It seems like the middle part of the map, the mast, is where you really want to make sure you control to then get your push, because as you said, if you can make that push towards one of the ends of Manta Maria, you really put the other team in a tough situation.
That is where you need to control. And at that point, you get the opportunity to be decisive. And that really is the thing that makes Rainmaker what it is. When you get to these levels, these teams aren't going to wait and say, well, we've got to, where's the third? Where's the fourth? Should we go now? And then with the 10 seconds you've discussed, the opponent is back. If they see an opening, they're going to run at it. They're going to go right up the middle. They're going to go over to the right, and they're going to cover as much as they can on the way.
And Ashley, with Rainmaker, it's that coordinated effort of, yes, you have to have your specials, but somebody's got to lay down some freeway for you to drive, as I like to say. That's really important. So if you get that Rainmaker, you can get to the goal quickly.
Indeed, indeed. Ooh, it's starting. Let's see.
FT Win taking on Hanran. And what do you see about the loadout from our old school Splatoon 1 team at Hanran, 9?
Well, as advertised, their longest range weapon is a Kensa 52 Gal. That's a weapon that doesn't see a lot of love, period. But when that's the longest range weapon on your team, you are showing your hand very, very quickly, saying, we're coming to you, do something about it.
FT Win with the balanced attack, the winning pedigree, the resume to back things up, facing some of the old school opponents in Hanran. But let's go ahead and see that Kyo's already gotten busy. And already it is a 4-2 advantage on the map. 3-3 for Hanran as they grab the Rainmaker to make an initial push. And actually, they're getting it to the sweet spot that we've talked about before, backed up by a Booyah Bomb.
Yeah, unfortunately, are we calling, what is this, the poop deck? This is the part of the map? Yeah, there. So you can see the aggressiveness really came in handy. They were able to take out Kyo with that inkjet. But unfortunately, all Rainmakers, except for the one in the previous match, all Rainmakers generally go a little back and forth.
Bran, as we see here, just sitting back right now, has that ink armor ready to deploy, just trying to cover a little bit of turf in the middle, trying to avoid an inkjet coming out here in 9. If you are Hanran, what is the play here now that you have the early lead with the Rainmaker resetting?
Well, I think you saw exactly what they wanted to do, right? They went back to mid. They knew that the Rainmaker was going to reset on his own, so they figured as long as they had control, it would be okay that the Rainmaker reset. Now that you see they took one out, Brain is willing to move up, take this space, but needs to be careful. They're already one down.
3:30 left, plenty of time available. Two huge splats right there by Braun, and now it's 4-2, 3-1 on the map. And just like that, you have a chance if you're Hanran to make a push here, Ashley.
That was a really good example of winning a 2v1. I mean, he killed a special. So that's like, I mean, that's the best you can hope for in that situation. Really, really great work by Braun.
Hanran, as we said before, with those shorter range shooters here, 9, applying the pressure has helped them build an early lead, and they're doing a good job of holding fort against a team that's very balanced and very experienced with more range.
It is, and that's what this is meant to do, right? It means that you can dictate the flow of the match here. You see that Jared is attacking in the same way that Bran did earlier. This time, however, Biscuit picked that up. You saw he had rotated earlier over instead of waiting for them to come to him. Now they're moved up a little bit, and now we're going to see if that shorter range starts to hurt them.
Yeah, Biscuit with that Nautilus, though, going to get splatted, and that's just enough for the defensive efforts of Hanron to even things up. They still have the lead, 41-0, but still plenty of time. And here comes the first Rainmaker grab and some Tenta missiles to help escort the ball carrier here, Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, the Tenta missiles can come in really handy in Rainmaker. It's a really great way to block out an opponent, kind of keep them from your carrier. But unfortunately, doesn't look like it did too much there.
And FT Win has seized control of this game. They take the lead, 34-41, still very close, plenty of time left, but we see so much mid-control here, 9, and that's what you want if you're going to play a defensive game at this point.
It really is, and isn't that so frustrating? It seems like Hanron's been doing exactly what they needed to do for 3 minutes, and then one push is all it takes. But credit FT Win again, being patient, knowing when the opportunity was theirs, and that's one of the highest flying inkjets I think I've ever seen.
Biscuit trying to avoid the inkjet from the heavens. Gets the splat on Sufjan, trying to get 2 here. You see a couple members of Hanron off to the left trying to fill up that Rainmaker and get that shield to burst. 120 left though. This is when the clock starts to become a factor. Oh, but Apple gonna go ahead and get smashed by Biscuit. And now it's more mid-control though here, 9 for Hanron, as you see a lot more purple on the map.
It is, and Jared in an inkjet means they're going to have even more space. He's trying to pick out, he thinks that someone might be hiding, so he's going to try to take that out and make sure there's no resistance whatsoever. Just a little bit further, that's a huge pick, but I think that was Shaq over there who got that pick.
Yeah, Jared getting the splat on Biscuit, but Shaq able to provide enough of a defensive effort. Jared trying to find the perch point for FT Win on the backside. Another splat. Jared doing work in the opposition's house at this point. Ink armor comes up, though, for FT Win. That'll help bolster their defenses. But, Ashley, it seems like FT Win doing just enough here late in the game to hold this last push from Hanron.
Yeah, Jared was doing a really good job there of trying to keep out a couple of players, but while his teammates respawned, but he couldn't hold out long enough.
Rainmaker resets, and clearly at this point here, 9, Hanron has to play an aggressive style because they're down 7, and that plays right into the hands of what FT Win wants to do with more range.
It is, but look at this. Brand's already up here. They've already got 3 people way ahead. Sufjan's not even going to have a hard time getting there. They need a miracle pick. They have an inkjet. They have bombs. They have the Rainmaker down, and that's going to be it.
Not enough right there. They had everything laid out for them, as we mentioned. But FT Win doing just enough at the last minute defensively here, Ashley. That's what we talked about. When you take that early lead here, Ashley, you have a chance to sit back and focus on being defensive. And that's one less thing you have to think about as a team.
Yeah, I mean, defense, what is that old sports phrase? Jordan, defense wins championships,
wins
right?
championships.
Oh,
I know my boy Nine knows all about his sporty sports there.
Yeah, that's from hockey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works in every facet of it, but the first game going to FT Win. And you have to credit Hanron here, 9, because they had no range whatsoever on FT Win, but that aggression seemed to pay off, and really Jared getting a couple of key picks late in the game to apply the pressure against FT Win. That's not a bad showing for Hanron considering the pedigree of FT Win.
It's not a bad showing at all. And actually, in the middle of that game, you saw the adaptation that makes FT Win so strong. Early on, when Brand went on that absolute tear, he took out Biscuit at the start. The next 2 times you saw somebody push that side, Biscuit was ready. Biscuit said, okay, are we really going to do the same dance over and over? And that's why you saw Biscuit at the top there with 16 splats and assists.
And then, Ashley, we saw the shift from defense to offense, back to defense coming from FT Win, especially when we saw Biscuit push forward with that Nautilus. And good teams do that. When they are coordinated, they're all moving together as a unit. You don't have that lone squid that likes to jump ahead and try and be a hero.
Oh, it's always the worst, right? When you're playing and somebody just rushes forward, you're like, wait, come back. No, these teams are so controlled and so calm and collected while they play that they're able to do that.
Inkblot Art Academy Tower Control. Let's see if we can draw up another terrific game here. And early on this map here, 9, we've mentioned before in Tower Control, there's sort of that sweet spot. If you can get the tower past a certain checkpoint, it makes it really difficult for the other team to have a comeback. Where's that spot in this map? Where do we keep our focus on in Inkblot Art Academy?
So I would say on this map, it's getting past the second checkpoint that is up on the opponent's plat, as we like to call it. At that point, it really becomes a sprint because that tower starts to move very quickly. Or Sufjan got caught in a little bit of ink right there, but both of these teams are geared up to push way, way ahead of the tower. If they get to that second checkpoint, it might be GG.
I like that. Opponent's plat. Who needs that second syllable right there? We're cool here in Splatoon. All right, tower moving, getting set for that first checkpoint. FT win already mowing through the first checkpoint and throwing some change as they move through the gate. As they continue to advance here, you also see them pushing up here, Ashley, and that's what you need. The tower in the backside with your teammates escorting a clear path and getting some splats.
Yeah, and there's that special control that we were talking about, that coordination where they're able to use, 1, 2, 3 back to back to back, and then, you bring out the inkjet to try to keep your opponents back towards spawn. This might be a little difficult for Hanron just because they don't run with a really long distance weapon generally, and so I think this might be tough for them. That ability to hold a back line, to be able to have that range is really, I think, kind of key in tower control.
And 9, you loved what you just saw right there.
Biscuit just got 3 people in 3 seconds. That was unreal. Biscuit is using the longest range weapon on the map, and maybe more than anything else, the Nautilus is built to do exactly what he's doing right now, and that's take out these short-range shooters.
And those biscuits can cook quickly, and we just saw that, eliminating 3 members of Hanron, and it's all FT win at this point. Tower slowly resetting back to neutral, but Hanron hasn't made anything resembling a push in this one. Kyo just kind of hanging out by the brick, waiting for a chance to duck through. Goes ahead and throws that fizzy bomb, able to connect right there. And Kyo just trying to silently wait and find those openings. A nice little trade that gives the advantage on the map for FT win. And Ashley, again, this is a situation for FT win. You've got the lead. Yes, you can play aggressive if you want to, but it's so much more effective when you're defensive and the other team has to come to you.
It really is, but I have to say, I am super impressed with Jared right now. He is doing a great job. He did it in the last game. He's doing it in this game, doing a great job of winning these 2v1s, even during an ink armor, which is really, really impressive.
But 9, if you're looking at Hanron, you just don't have the range, and this is a map where that range can really be useful because you've got so much undulation at different levels in Inkblot Art Academy, and it's been all FT win. However, Hanron trying to get to this first checkpoint. We've seen comebacks before. If you're Hanron in this position, 9, what do you have to make sure you do with just 2 minutes left?
Well, I think they did exactly what they needed to. They took down one person, Bran moved forward, and Bran is still up. So now they've got them in what we call a staggered spawn. There are going to be 2 people coming out at separate times. If they can get through this checkpoint, they have the tools and the players up to take this push the distance.
And Hanron trying to get through the second checkpoint. As you mentioned, if they do, it'll start to get interesting. Now we're just a few spots away from tying things up. Inkjet coming out to help out. Can Jared provide enough cover? No,
there.
Just down 3, and yet again, right on the verge of coming back. FT win, though, able to play defense in the margin of error. So thin here, and that Nautilus and Biscuit putting in more work, Ashley.
Ooh, I mean, wow. Everybody loves a biscuit, you guys, right? Like, that was amazing. That was just really coordinated, really good. Everybody, both teams converging on the tower, and FT win just, that range really, really matters in tower control.
Yeah, FT win putting a label on the tower and sending it back to sender at this point, and now they are in full control of this game so far. Hanron really going to have to be playing perfect here, 9 for the most part, to come back. Hard to do when you're down 4-2 on the map.
4-2, make that 4-1, and how's about a full wipe here? They could knock this out if they wanted to. Kyo is up here. This is a victory lap for them at this point. Bran is the last one up. He's going to try to make one more dive at the tower, but how's about it? Look at this. FT win showing why they are the defending champs.
And they are, 9, as you saw right there, the defensive ability to just hold down fort. Hanron, Ashley, was just 3 spots away from tying things up, but FT win completely flips things around. And then when they put their foot on the pedal, you see how destructive they can be, mowing down Hanron and closing things out. And how about that Biscuit with 19 on the splats and assists?
Like I said, I mean, it's just so good. Like, it's so good. I love a good ranged, I love a backliner. I mean, it's like they are the unsung heroes of Splatoon teams, I think, sometimes. And so to really see him get to have that many splats, be that aggressive with the Nautilus, I mean, it's just really, it's fun.
And it comes back to 9, you just got to win your 1v1s, but it was really Biscuit getting those 3 splats, getting those 2v1s. And you mentioned when star players can do that, the newest member of FT win, Biscuit, by the way, that's huge, because that's when we see the huge change of momentum in a match, is when you get those multiple splats.
It really is. It starts the snowball, and that is, again, what his weapon is made to do. The Nautilus does have the longest range, and it can hold its charge, meaning that it can keep up with some of those shorter range weapons as well. If Biscuit isn't going ham in the way that he is right now, we might be seeing a completely different set.
See, now you're talking about ham, biscuits, getting me all hungry right here as we continue to go through.
time.
We're not even to grand finals yet. You got my tummy rumbling here. Yeah, that's right. I'm a grown man. I said tummy. Let's go ahead and get to Starfish main stage. Splat zones here. We saw it not too long ago with 3.5 dubs and Booyah. But Ashley, controlling that stage, and then we seem to see that forward push, but then handling the onslaught of specials that will eventually come in Splat zones.
Yeah, I mean, you can see we're already seeing specials built up. It has literally been less than 15 seconds. I mean, it's incredible how fast these teams can build special, and oh wow, he leapt right back. He was like, no, never mind. Hanron getting back to spawn because they were down 3-1.
And we saw that early on, Nine, just the 4-1 demolition right here by FT Win. They quickly regained the lead at this point. And we talk about pushing forward aggressively. Textbook example right here.
It is, and I do not know how much HP Biscuit has to have survived that long, but, you know, to hit on a point that you mentioned right there, I think FT Win is one of the best teams at understanding when an inch becomes a mile. Some teams might look at a small opening and say, that's just a little bit. They see not only that move, but the next 3, and that's why they are so strong.
But don't sleep on Hanron. Yes, as you mentioned, Ashley, thinking ahead for your opponent, and right now, Hanron has a chance to go ahead and take a couple of pawns as they threaten the queen, and they've got that timer ticking down and really threaten to gobble up the lead, but here comes that specials. You've got to make sure you hold fort here, Ashley.
Yeah, and with Tentamissiles, you just want to get off the control point. You have to get off the splat zone, because otherwise you're just giving your opponent free ink for the space to take it back.
And such a good point. You've got to swim away and free up that real estate so you don't give it up. But now a little bit more back and forth. Both teams with a similar penalty, but Nine, give credit to Hanron. They continue to apply the pressure to FT Win.
They are, and again, with a team as talented as Hanron, with such great mechanical skill, you know it's only a moment before they find their opening. The difference has been in the past, FT Win has found just enough resources at the last moment, but with just a few seconds left, the lead is going to go to Hanron. Can they take it the distance?
That's a lot of Tentamissiles. Whew.
And Hanron seizing control of the lead, and now it's FT Win searching for some solutions. We see Kyo hiding up top right now, drums down with that slosher, trying to cover up some territory. And now the splat zone up for grabs at this point. FT Win trying to claim it. They're up 4-3 on the map at this point. Kyo trying to stay alive. Somehow able to just long enough for FT Win to regain control. And Ashley, here's FT Win's chance. They're up 3-2 on the map.
This is their shot. If they can hold this point, if they can really use their specials wisely, I think this might be very bad for Hanron.
Now, Nine, can you push forward too far, though? Can you be a little too aggressive to where that staggered spawn is no longer an issue for Hanron and you can mow them down?
I think there absolutely is, and it's one of those heat-of-the-moment situations where maybe it doesn't work, but if it does work, you can get the lead, and we've seen that right here. All that fighting was taking place away from the zone, and that's huge.
And now FT Win has got the lead, 10 seconds away from the knockout and punching their way to grand finals. Can Hanron get one more last surge? They won't, and FT Win in FT Win style gets the sweep 3-0. They will meet 3.5 dubs in grand finals after making quick work with the comeback in splat zones. And Ashley, Nine alluded to it. If you give FT Win an inch, they'll go a mile. You cannot have any weaknesses or any points in a match where you slip up, because FT Win will expose you.
Yeah, they are very good at seeing a weakness and then exploiting it for everything they can possibly get out of it. So this is why they are one of the best teams, if not consistently the best team in North America. I mean, they're just amazing at this, and we saw that there, right? So they took it back, and they really made an effort to just, at that point, again, it's defense. You just keep them away from that splat zone. That's all you have to do, is just hold. And so you don't have to bring the fight. You say, okay, you come to me, and they have the high ground, and they really took advantage.
All right, let's get set for grand finals here. Let's take a look at the updated bracket. A couple of sweeps have led 3.5 dubs to face FT Win. And I know this is a matchup you're very excited for here, 9, because we saw 3.5 dubs make quick work of Booyah. FT Win a couple close matches with Hanron in their first 2 games. So this is going to be very interesting to see how both these teams play out. They both have more balanced loadouts, it seems like.
They do. And, we talk about storylines in Splatoon. This is an interesting one because, again, the last time the North American Championships happens, FT Win won. But every member of 3.5 Dubs was on one of the teams that they beat to get there. They were in the top 4 last year, too. So revenge does taste sweet. I will say that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how 3.5 dubs responds back to this one. And Ashley, just going back to that game one more time, you mentioned playing defense, and you have to do that by pushing forward. And then you defend almost a zone ahead of the splat zone to secure things as opposed to just staying back and letting the other team cover the zone. So let's go ahead and take one more little break as we get set here for our grand finals in the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open, June 2020. And welcome back to the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open, June 2020. I'm your spray-by-spray host, Jordan Kent. Joining me, 2 of my Splatalists here, Ashley Esqueda and 9, as we get you set for grand finals here. The top 4 teams set the stage for the finals of nearly 730 teams. Quite the showcasing of talent here. But let's take a look at our bracket. Our grand finals feature 2 of the top teams in North America, a familiar face in FT Win in the competitive scene, and then 3.5 dubs, sort of this collaboration of teams that FT Win has left in their wake in years past. And, Ashley, you were having the conversation with 9 during the break about why Biscuit is such an important member of FT Win, the newest member of FT Win, and why you've got to make sure you handle the Biscuit when you take care of FT Win.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, you got to deal with a hot biscuit, right? It's like if it's in your hands, it's gonna hurt you. So but the thing is you can't walk into today hoping that Biscuit has an off day. You got to expect that. You have to expect he's going to have a great day, because at this level, all these players have great days almost every day. So to kind of cross your fingers and hope that a backliner using a very long range weapon is going to have maybe an off day or isn't going to completely pop off like Biscuit is doing right now, is just it's not a good assumption to make. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And grand finals will be best of 7, so more splatting action here for you. We'll start with Clam Blitz on Sturgeon Shipyard, Rainmaker, Blackbelly Skate Park, Splat Zones, and Anchovy Games, Tower Control, Inkblot Art Academy, and if necessary, Rainmaker, Humpback Pump Track, Tower Control, and Mako Mart, and Splat Zones in Wahoo World. And Nine, you and I, we've had a chance to play a lot of Clam Blitz late in the evening here as we get a chance to go through ranked mode. As once again, you've been carrying me. Clam Blitz, we talked about coordination at the top of the show. This seems to be the game mode where timely coordination can really be the key to victory.
It absolutely can. And the way that the scoring system works means that it's better to get the scores in big chunks, because however much you score, for those of you unfamiliar with this mode, half of whatever you score is given back to you as penalty whenever the basket closes. So it's that much more important for you to make sure you have all of your eggs in a basket, or all clams in a basket, as the case may be, before you go in. And sometimes that means it's a hurry up and wait mode.
And Ashley, we've seen before on Clam Blitz, some teams really handle the clam economy on the map, as we like to say. You can see how many clams are on the map. If you're playing defensively with the lead, you still want to go out there and get clams, because it seems like if you do that, it's less of an opportunity for your opponent to mount a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, it's your basic game of keep away. Right. I say if you hold the clams, they can't have the clams. So there's a finite supply of clams available at any given time. So you have to just, you keep it away from your opponents. As simple as that.
And Nine, we've seen some top level strategy, including the baller super jump. Tell us a little bit more about what that means as we look at Clam Blitz here in a few moments.
So the baller super jump, you can super jump when holding a clam. It's a way to score maybe 1 or 2 very quickly, but at this level, 1 isn't going to do it unless it's to end the game in overtime.
So with Clam Blitz, you're collecting the clams, you get 10 of them, you get a power clam, and that is what you have to throw at the other team's basket to burst it open. You have a small window to fill it up with more clams worth 3 points, power clams worth 20 points. Let's go ahead and check out DJ early on, 3.5 dubs, facing the mighty FT Win Sturgeon Shipyard Clam Blitz as we get set for grand finals in the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. And already DJ trying to march down the field with that power clam. Pass is going to be just short. And Ashley, you do become a huge target when you have that power clam, because everybody has a chance to see where you're at on the map when you get it.
Yeah, you're definitely the most glittering and golden target. You're not gonna be able to hide anywhere. It's very difficult to do that. But I will say, it seems like ink armor is going to be extremely key. So not only the clam economy, but the economy of ink armor specials is going to come in very, very handy for both of these teams as they try to score points.
And Ice freezing out Kyo right there. Nine, you're shaking your head because we see Ice moving forward with that charger, really helping out support the back line of 3.5 dubs.
Exactly, and Ice is going to be maybe the key player in here, because what was the one thing that we kept saying Hanron didn't have? A natural counter to Biscuit. Charger might be the best at doing that, and Ice, with his accuracy and mobility, he's going to make life very difficult for Biscuit if he gets set up.
Ice sitting on a power clam trying to avoid a well-thrown splat bomb. However, going to go ahead and eat that from FT Win, and now FT Win trying to turn the tables with their own power clam, but so far, both teams just trading splats back and forth here, Ashley. But finally, 3.5 dubs gets the basket open. They take a 20-point lead. Looks like they don't have too many members nearby. Let's see if Rhea can go down. And yes, Rhea able to get one clam in there. Every little bit helps, Ashley.
You know what? That can be the difference. In a game like this, at this level, that can be the difference between winning and losing.
Here comes Biscuit trying to fortify the back line, but once again, 3.5 dubs doing what you have to do with that Charger 9.
Yeah, we said it right there. It's so nice when a plan comes together and when you lay it out, but it's true. That has to be what the discussion was. Ice knows that there aren't really any other weapons on his team that can deal with Biscuit in the same way he can. It's a difficult job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, you love it when things come together on the first try, kind of like when you build furniture and you don't have to grab your hair in frustration. It's 77-100 right now, lead for 3.5 dubs. Ice just sitting back with 8 clams, trying to be that counter to Biscuit. And so far, FT Win, you see the power clam on the map right now. Shaq trying to make an approach right here. Ice, you see the scope on Shaq at this point, and Ashley, you got to stay alive at this point if you're going to make this push with the power clam, because your teammate being exposed needs all the help that they can get.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has got to rally around the power clam, right? So this is a key moment right here. This inkjet I'm very curious to see if they can convert. FT wins still without a single score.
Shaq holding on to that power clam. Nothing wrong with possessing for time of the game. And Shaq goes
There we
ahead,
go.
gets the completion. And now it is all about FT Win seeing if they can get a few more resources into the basket. Can they? Yet another power clam sitting right there in 9, but
so
just enough
close.
defense by 3.5 dubs. And that's where that one clam makes a huge difference from earlier on.
It really does. You laid it out, and that was a very quick full wipe. Look at this. They already have 2 power clams coming the other way. Let's see how they opt to attack right here. They could put this game out of sight and out
Look at
of
all those
mind.
booyahs.
If they score here, so many things going on at once.
And they get the first power clam, both of them in
2
right there,
power
as you
clams.
mentioned, 9. And now it is a clam bake going on in the clam basket because they are just filling it up right now. A huge advantage for 3.5 dubs in this first game in grand finals. And now FT Win in unfamiliar territory. Down big late in the matchup. And Ashley, you love the aggression we just saw.
I love it.
3.5 dubs right there.
I love it. I haven't seen that many clams since I went fishing for the cola camp in Animal Crossing. Come on.
Love the cross reference right there, Ashley. All right, we get set with 40 seconds left here. 9 FT Win, as you said. You give them an inch, they can go a mile, but that's a lot of ground to make up here. Maybe just not enough resources on this map at the moment.
And I'm glad you brought up not enough resources, because to lay some quick math out on you, they need 4 power clams and 1 regular clam to score. That is a lot. That's 40 clams plus 1 just to gather the resources. They'll need to control the map for a long time if they want to build up that much.
And as we mentioned, 13 seconds left. FT Win, they get splatted with the power clam nearby, and it looks like 3.5 dubs just moments away. However, they're down 3-1. You see a lot of clams, biscuits in there operating. Inkjet comes out. Here comes Shaq. Hold on just a
There it is,
second.
open. It's
Are there enough
overtime.
resources? You see some more clams spawn to the left. FT Win trying to mount a massive comeback.
Just
At
throw
the end of
clams.
this one, they're throwing
Can they?
everything at there. Is there enough on the court? No. You see that timer's ticking. They've got moments. FT Win does. They just need 2 more clams and they get it. And 9, you mentioned everything they needed. How fortunate was FT Win to have some clams spawn near the basket during that onslaught?
Unreal. This
That's
is
a
what Championship
heartbreaker.
Splatoon is made of. But credit again the members of FT Win for just staying alive as long as they could, going back to the center of the map to gather a couple more. What they have more than anything is composure. That is the championship element that they have. No matter how big the deficit is, they believe they can do it. And look at that. They did it again.
And Ashley, that is the definitive shot of giving a team an inch and them going a mile right
Taking a
there. I'm sure
mile,
every
man.
one of them used that left thumb to go ahead and capture those last 30 seconds. Very impressive final finish by FT Win right there.
I mean, the aggressive push at the end there was just, they had less than 14 seconds left and they opened the basket, started throwing clams. You see clams coming from the left, clams coming from the right, you know, and then there's just that one, then it goes to overtime and you're like, oh, I don't know if there's any more clams left on the field. And there was just that one that just right in. That's it. It's over.
And 9, you mentioned composure. At that time, most people feel like all I've got to do is throw clams in the basket, and that's what I have to focus on. You still have to get your splats. You still have to control your territory, and that's what FT Win did in order to open up the opportunity for that comeback as we get set for a second game here. And let's go Rainmaker, Blackbelly Skate Park. Obviously, the tower in the middle here, 9, is a focal point in this map.
It is, and I mean, you got to throw some haymakers on this map. This, even back in Splatoon 1, was known as no lead is safe. Blackbelly Skate Park Rainmaker moves so quickly, one wrong move, even more than Manta Maria, can spell the end for your team.
Early on, all squids on the field. No major changes in the loadouts as well, too. FT Win trying to get the second game here and create some separation against 3.5 dubs. 3.5 dubs, meanwhile, trying to hang tight. They went toe-to-toe in this first game. Already, we see 2D battling a 1v1. And now 2D getting overwhelmed in his 3.5 dubs with the early push. And Ashley, once again, 3.5 dubs showing they are not afraid of FT Win. They'll stick it right to them.
Not at all. And also you're seeing these sort of like these 1v1s kind of happening, and even a second, if your teammate pops that special ink armor just a second before the other team, usually the team that has ink armor after that first one ends is the one that's going to win a 1v1.
3.5 dubs with the Rainmaker and the advantage right now, trying to push back FT Win. FT Win in a precarious situation, but thanks to the courtesy of a local spawn, they're able to get the defensive stop here. Now let's see if FT Win can turn the tables here. We've seen Biscuit utilize that Inkjet and that Nautilus to really mow down the opposition. It seems like right now, Nine, the focus is territory control and getting that numbers game before we push with the Rainmaker here.
It is, and again, they know that the threat is always going to be at them, and Biscuit popped that very early to make sure that Zero couldn't be a nuisance in their spawn. It may seem a little early, but believe me when I say that sometimes the peace of mind of knowing you can only look forward is worth spending the special on.
So we've got just over 3 minutes left. 3.5 dubs with that first strike, but here come a couple of specials coming out from FT Win. Let's see if it's enough to take out some other members of 3.5 dubs to get a push. Oh, but
Shaq.
Ashley Shack unable to back up and eats that splat bomb. Huge splat for 3.5 dubs.
Man, one of the things about this map in particular is that it is very easy to roll a triangle bomb just over the edge of a cliff that you just don't see. So it's that is exactly what happened there.
And Nine, when you get the Rainmaker, it seems like you have that alleyway with the half pipe that you can approach. Which way do you want to go if you're FT Win and you're trying to make this push here to get back into the game?
I think you look at where the opponent is and you opt to go the direction that isn't that way. There is legitimate reason to go both ways. They both can be quick, but there's a lot of space between the two openings. It just depends on where the opponent is. It looks like they're going to take this one up the middle and try to make that jump. Very nice shot by Zero to make sure that one didn't get out of hand.
And Ice doing a fine job providing some backline support. That was critical by 3.5 dubs because there is nothing but yellow ink in front of the Rainmaker. Going to go ahead and reclaim it just so you have to burst the bubble again. You don't want a loose Rainmaker out and available deep in your territory, Ashley. You got to do all you can to reset it, but FT Win able to scramble at the last minute there. And you see how quickly FT Win, once again, Ashley, you can't give this team any type of space.
No, you cannot let them build any momentum. It is very difficult to stop them once that ball gets rolling. And you can see how much yellow ink is on that map. They did a really good job of controlling just about every lane.
You see Biscuit once again leading the charge with the most splats and assists. And Nine, one thing we haven't talked about is all of the equipment that some of these teams are going with. What type of loadouts are you looking for from some of these teams? And when you look at the meta recently, what's been the focal point when you look at all the special abilities that you can stack?
Main power up would be the one that I think a lot of people would look at and say that has been dominating. It is the newest ability and it is very important on certain weapons. But for teams like this that like to get up and fight, you're going to see a lot of quick respawn. It is that simple. If you need to be up more, put on more quick respawn, jump in. If you get taken out, hey, you're going to be back in an instant.
All right, as we get set for our third game here in Grand Finals, we'll be making our way to Anchovy Games and Splat Zones. And once again, Ashley, in Splat Zones, we saw with FT Win, they like to secure the zone and then make the push forward. However, with Anchovy Games, you've got a lot of different terrain to deal with, especially those rising platforms. If you're 3.5 dubs, how do you want to really try and turn things around? We've seen you get close in the last couple of games, but just not be able to close things out against FT Win.
So this particular map, I think for these two teams, it is going to be all about backliners. So whoever the best backliner is, I think is going to win this game for their team. Like I really, really think that it's going to be a Biscuit and Ice off, right? It's like Ice has got to cool down that hot Biscuit.
And Nine, once again, we've seen Anchovy Games. It's so critical to be able to apply that consistent pressure in the middle with the splat zones. But what are you waiting for when you're making that push? Because we know that initial push is so important in splat zones. How do you best get that in Anchovy Games?
I think you have to make sure, again, to watch the flanks because this is another map where you can be attacked from all sides. And we have seen so often with these teams, sometimes it is just one flank that comes around the backside that diverts the attention of the team. Sometimes it's not about getting the splat, but instead making sure the opponent can't ink the zone while you take it back.
Well, let's go ahead and pop in a few quarters and start up Splat Zones and Anchovy Games. FT Win trying to take a commanding 3-0 lead in Grand Finals. Remember, it's best of 7. 3.5 dubs. They've been close. Now they want to try and really close things out as all 4 members start to make their push. You see Ice covering one of those flank areas as well. And a quick zone grab by 3.5 dubs. They take the early lead. And Ashley, they're not wasting any time in trying to establish control.
Not even a little bit. I mean, I think FT Win smells the chum in the water, right? This is they can feel it. They've got that momentum. They're moving forward. You can see they're not even on the zone anymore. They're just move forward, try to take out their opponents.
DJ getting a critical splat on Shaq. That helps alleviate some of the pressure, but now you've got to get the zone. They do. They apply a little bit of a penalty, and finally 3.5 dubs creates a little bit of breathing room here, 9.
That breathing room is the word right there. You have no idea how quickly that was to being a full wipe in game just in that little instance right there. The fact that Zero and DJ were able to essentially full wipe in a 2v4 means that they give themselves a fighting chance, and they're going to give themselves a lead in addition.
And that's so difficult, Ashley, against FT Win. You almost have to play a perfect game where your team can't have these collapses, because if you do, FT Win is going to make you pay for it in spades.
Absolutely. So what you have to do is you got to give them a taste of their own medicine, right? You have to be able to really take advantage of any unforced errors. And it might have been in that situation that FT Win just went a little too far forward, got a little too aggressive, and paid the price.
And FT Win reclaiming the zone here. 9, you saw that 3-1 advantage on the map where they wiped out nearly every member of 3.5 dubs. They're threatening to take the lead, but you mentioned it's a map where you can get flanked from everywhere. And how about that, the 2v1 paying off for FT Win to maintain some control, but 3.5 dubs, the aggression pays off, 9.
It does, and it was just enough. Zero coming behind, and actually it was great that they were able to trade with Zero, because that meant the last one was Biscuit. That meant that neither Rhea nor DJ could approach for free if they could against a shorter range weapon.
Just under 3 minutes and a back and forth splat zone matchup at Anchovy Games. High octane matchup and plenty at stake here as we try to see FT Win get 3 games up on 3.5 dubs in this grand finals. And so far it is now once again FT Win reclaiming the zone. Decent sized penalty for both teams. And then Shaq with this positioning right here, Ashley, we see Shaq pivoting between the high ground and mid ground to try and get an advantage on their opponents.
Yeah, not only is he trying to get an advantage, he's trying to keep them from an advantage, because that high ground is so important because it's right over the top of the splat zone. So you want to try to keep your opponents out of that area as much as humanly possible, or I guess squidly possible.
And Shaq doing a fine job here, 9, of just pushing forward, claiming some territory, and really now you've got 3.5 dubs in a very difficult situation because you've got all 4 members of FT Win pushing you deep into your own territory.
It is, and they have 3 specials to work with, almost 4 specials, so they have the tools to make it work. They need all those bombs to get on zone, and I think Zero went down there, so it's just going to be a matter of painting the zone as much as they can and just barely getting it here. You see Rhea has absolutely nowhere to go, but they got what they came for. They're going to have another opportunity to continue playing this game.
Kyo trying to hold things down on this upper platform as they continue to chew away at that penalty. FT Win in control here in splat zones. We've seen a couple of pushes from 3.5 dubs, but FT Win doing a fine job of covering all the flank spots. And you see 1 special left for 3.5 dubs. They've got to stay alive. But FT Win still doing a fine job of just sustaining the lead here, Ashley. And that's what they're doing. They're staying on the map, which allows them to apply that pressure.
Yeah, they are staying on the map, and the one really big thing for them is, just like 9 was saying, that's it. No! It was so important for them to be able to take away those points.
And FT Win, once again, just resilient. You saw them apply the pressure early on. They withstand a couple of pushes from 3.5 dubs, and it's just the pressure that they are able to apply and so quickly winning those 1v1s, 9. And that's what seemed to stand out to me in this match, where if you were 3.5 dubs, you were trying to flank, and then you would lose those 1v1s, lose that positioning, and that allowed FT Win to maintain their stranglehold on the middle of the zone.
Yeah, the stranglehold, I think, is exactly the way you put it, because you saw there, we had Shaq on camera for a nice little bit. We watched him watch the flank, then drift a little left, then drift back onto the right. It's just understanding where the opponent is going to try to come from. And you saw that Ice had 4 suction bomb rushes, but only 1 splat. And to me, that's indicative of the fact that Ice was never really able to get comfortable and exude the pressure that we're so used to seeing those Chargers do.
Such a good point. FT Win taking a dominating 3-0 lead in this best of 7 grand finals. Up next, we will have Tower Control and the Inkblot Art Academy. So if you are 3.5 dubs, Ashley, you've had your moments. You haven't been absolutely dominated in all these games, but you just can't seem to have these collapses that you're having every single game because FT Win's going to make you pay. What's the mindset for 3.5 dubs at this point when you're now staring at you have to go 4-0 against the best team in North America, arguably, to come back and win this?
I think it's important for them to remember that reverse sweeps happen. We've seen it before. We've seen these things occur. It's not completely out of the question. And also, these players are at such a high level that momentum is a little bit easier to kind of stop, right? So they have the ability to go out there, and all they really have to do is neutralize one player. They have to really keep Biscuit from getting comfortable, because if Biscuit can get comfortable, then he enables his teammates to really do the work that needs to be done to win. So this is, I mean, to me, the they cannot let Biscuit settle in and get going with that Nautilus.
And we've seen tower control in Inkblot Art Academy a few times here, Nine. And what's going to be the key for either team if they really want to close this out? You mentioned you want to get to that checkpoint that's on the opponent's plat, like all the cool squids say here. But it sounds like once you get there, it's just that final push of being able to kind of get that score down to the teens, down to the 20s, that really seems to secure the win.
It really is. And we have seen again what FT Win is capable of doing on this map. We saw them push it all the way down to the last checkpoint. And then, even though the game was well in hand, why not push it the distance and get the win? You see right now, take a look there at the composition that's coming out of 3.5 dubs. They are going guns a-blazing, 3 short-range weapons. They're going to take the fight to them.
Yeah, this will be really interesting as we see this, because now you're just seeing how 3.5 dubs is looking to adapt. Meanwhile, FT Win just sticking what has been working with them for so well. And already we see an early tower reclamation here, Ashley. And this is the game plan of 3.5 dubs. We're going to be aggressive. We won't be timid as we try to mount this comeback.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, you know, that range is going to be difficult for them to take the fight to every member of FT Win, but I think that it's possible they could do it. They just really have to be coordinated, and at this level, it's an easy thing for them to do.
The splat bomb snatching them as they try to super jump back to base, and that is huge right there. And already, here we go, Nine. Same old story. FT Win getting a checkpoint with a couple of specials out.
And look at exactly how that went there. They fired their missiles and then they used their inkjet, scattering people so everyone knew where they were, making it that much easier for the target. If not for Ice getting that pick and then getting the Stingray out, this game might be over already. But that might be enough. DJ is there as well with a double himself, and they're going to at least continue to hang on for the time being.
Woo,
Ice putting on work right now. 3 splats since we switched over to their view. And it's all about 3.5 dubs, reversing this tower and trying to apply some type of pressure. FT Win hasn't really felt the heat yet in this game. FT Win continues to just be stabilized. And actually, we see that from FT Win. They don't have these big collapses. Sure, you might splat a couple of them, but it's never this full wipe. It's never a 3-1 situation.
They are very good at regrouping. They are very good at understanding when to get out of a situation. They have a lot of really good spatial awareness in every single map, and that comes from just these, you know, thousands of hours of experience playing the game, but it also just is why they're so good. Each individual player is just so good. They have an incredible amount of spatial awareness.
And FT Win, they can't quite get to the second checkpoint. Credit 3.5 dubs for repelling that push right there. But once again, just as we say it, FT Win back on the tower. And it's all about Kyo, it seems like, getting into that position to apply pressure right near their spawn, Nine.
It is, and you know, one of the things that FT Win is so good about and what enables Biscuit as well is the Nautilus as well as the Sloshing Machine are 2 of the very best weapons at punishing overextensions, because the Nautilus can pop out of anywhere. You attack somebody, you think that you force them back, only for the Nautilus to jump out. The Sloshing Machine's so good at that as well.
Now it's 3.5 dubs chance to try and get to a checkpoint. They fall short just of the first one. FT Win, all 8 squids on the map at this point right now, but you see 3 specials nearing for FT Win. Here come the Tenta missiles as well too. Actually, this is when you figure FT Win's trying to make that championship push right here, try and close this out for good.
I mean, yeah, this is where they make a push, but I don't see that happening right now. I think DJ's doing a great job, but unfortunately, Biscuit again, just going off today.
Biscuit popping off right there and sneaking out and getting the splat, and now it's FT Win full force behind them, moving this tower to the next checkpoint, and we've just got about 1:40 left here, Nine, and FT Win seems to be in full control. This is if you're 3.5 dubs, you got to play perfect the rest of the way.
You do. That shot right there is going to help as well, because that's going to mean that Biscuit's inkjet isn't going to be nearly as devastating as it could be. Now Biscuit has to find another avenue into the fight. Shaq had moved up already and is able to take out Rhea here, so they're going to still have somebody up on the plat. If they pursue too quickly, Biscuit's going to jump out and attack them, and Zero wisely not diving down there. There's still some composure. There's still some fight left.
FT win just over a minute away from claiming the championship in the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. 3.5 dubs. They've been close in every single game, but now they've got to ask for perfection when they need it most. There's just under a minute left here, Ashley. If you're 3.5 dubs, it's those coordinated specials is what they're looking for.
It really is. Look at the team chat. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I love watching stuff like that. I mean, what a great splat. I mean, took Biscuit out of the game. That is, that's helpful, but it's not enough.
FT wins, second checkpoint clear, just over 30 seconds left, deep in territory of 3.5 dubs. 3.5 dubs is going to have to get a quick wipe or 3-1 advantage here, 9, if you figure they're going to try and turn it around.
They are, and it's going to start here. Can they take back mid without losing anybody? That's the big thing right here. Every single time one of them goes down is magnified, and Kyo is there. That's going to be a trade, but they're okay with trades right now.
FT win will certainly take the trade. They're just 10 seconds away. Tower is sitting there. 3.5 dubs. They've got to claim it. Can they get on it? Ice trying to provide some support. And FT win. They got to play a little bit more defense. 3.5 dubs, forcing overtime here, and that will do it. FT win. Not losing a single game on their way to claiming this championship for the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open, June 2020. 3-0 against Hanrod, 4-0 against 3.5 dubs. It doesn't matter the competition. FT win takes care of business. And 9, once again, you just see the championship pedigree of them. Doesn't matter if they add a new member in Biscuit. It is the same FT win that everybody has had to deal with over the years.
It is. It doesn't matter if you shuffle the cards. It's still the same deck. And, you see the composure. You see the decisiveness. You see their ability to find the small openings and take advantage of it. They see the game differently. That's why they've been able to win against all manner of competition and with all manner of teammates.
And Ashley, once again, with FT win, it seemed like they were the only team out of these 4 finalists of nearly 800 teams that never really had huge collapses in a game. It always seemed like they had 1 or 2 players on the map able to help out their team. And that's what you see from championship teams, the chance that they don't really give you an opportunity to come back.
Yeah, and 9 mentioned the very beginning of all of these games, winning those 1v1s can be so key. Winning 2v1s can be so key, or 1v2s. And they do that so well. They convert so well. And Biscuit is a player who is consistently playing just slightly unorthodox compared to other range players, like Chargers, who will set up in kind of a couple of specific areas. Man, Biscuit was all over the map at that Inkblot Art Academy. He was everywhere.
So FT win, claiming the championship for the Splatoon 2 North American Online Open June 2020. Each member will get a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Tennis Aces, and ARMS. And so a lot of quick-based action that we saw here, 9. But to wrap things up, you have to continue to point out, what is it exactly that makes FT win the championship team that they are?
It's composure. They've been here before. You're not going to be able to throw anything at them they haven't seen before. But again, the core of their team, right? The people who have gone against all of these different teams, they've weathered the storm. And more than anything, they stay hungry. When they get to the top and win a tournament, they're already looking at the next tournament. And you can bet that they're going to continue to dominate if they so choose.
Well, it's been a terrific Sunday of Nintendo competitive action. We want to thank you for joining us. For myself, Jordan Kent, a huge thank you also to my 2 lead Splatalists, Ashley Esqueda and 9. Thank you guys once again. And then to our wonderful production team for putting all of this on. We appreciate you, the fans, for checking us out. Until next time, enjoy all the fun Nintendo competitive action. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys later.